What's up? What's up, good people? Welcome back. I want to formally apologize for being excruciatingly, unfashionably late. I do want to apologize for that. I meant to have this thing to start at 9:30, but it's starting at 9:15. But you see the title, you see the thumbnail. Yes, Dark Knight Mentality. I am on CP time, and yes, I will figure out a way to be late for my own funeral. Yes, I'm going to figure all of that out. But I'd like to thank everybody for coming on in today. And yes, I will be talking to JR, somebody who's been stirring up a little controversy around this space, a little, we get guys like that come through. The most recent one, I don't want to exactly compare him to this guy, but we are familiar with Misogyn War, who made the rounds around here and got torn to shreds. But I don't know what this is about with JR. I've never heard the brother speak, but I love detractors and I love people who disagree and have different perspectives. And he wanted to come on and do a one-on-one. So I said, why not do it? Why not do it on Friday? Let's make it happen. Let's talk about it. We're going to be talking about, well, he didn't word it that way, but that's how I worded it. How liberal policies can save the Communitah. Let's get ready to go. Let's get it.
Peace, folks. This is X from TPOT Media. Open your mind and wake your black ass up. You know what time it is. Hit that damn like button as you make your way in the door. Grab a seat, settle in, get ready. It's the Grown Man Hour with your host, my man, Bernard Riley.
Hey, what's up, everybody? This is Mumia Obsidian Ali. You know who I am. I need no introduction, right? And you're listening to the Grown Man Hour with my man Bernard Riley, heard weekdays right here on YouTube. What do you think about that? How about that? Now let's get back on with the show. Thank you.
All right. Let me fix my clothes. Get ready to go. And we in here. We are in the building. We are in the building, like the formally welcome everybody to the show. I see your comment. Conservative said, hold on. I saw a comment. Where did that one go? He said a new commune nigga roast. He said, yeah, a new commune nigga to roast. Is this actually true, Hood Conservative? Is that actually true? I haven't even sent him the link yet. Let me send him the link. Let me quit boiling and send him the link. But is that actually true? He supports BLM. He voted for Joe. And 3 black women are the best. And 3, oh, you saying number 3. Black women are the backbone of the community. He don't believe that. He does not believe that last statement. but voted for Joe and supports Black Lives Matters. I do believe he believes that. But we're going to get into all of that, and I'm about to send the good esteemed gentleman the link right now. And we're going to get all into it. JR, I do apologize for being tardy. I told you I was starting it up at 9:15. And then I meant to change it to 9:30, and I didn't get a chance to change it to 9:30, but I still just showed my black ass up at 9:30. And yeah. So there's that. Special shout out Edward Anderson in the building. He says, yeah, because they have done a great job so far to know how Black cities are doing and still be willing to say this is amazing. Okay. Shout out to Edward Anderson. And most importantly, thus far, shout out to Brother Xavier coming through with the first super chat of I almost said evening, of the morning. He did a good stream last night. He actually invited me to be on that. When you sent me an email, I saw it late. And I was divided on whether or not I wanted to even address the person in question. I don't even know if y'all addressed him directly on that stream, but I shared it because I know you did reach out to me on it. I saw LAR, I saw Super Sly in there, and I was addressing, I believe the premise of it. I watched the beginning of it. I don't know how long I stayed on that, but I believe the premise of it was addressing those that I guess are clip snatching detractors of the manosphere who allegedly take things out of context. I don't know if everything is taken out of context with the gentleman in question. Shout out to A-Rock. I don't know why I'm giving him nicknames, but I'll go ahead and say his name, Aaron G. Fountain. The one time he used a clip from me, it was a clip where I clearly misspoke, and everybody knew that I misspoke when I was talking about how many people voted for Trump in the last election versus what's projected for people to vote for Trump in the recent in the 2020 election. We were projecting maybe 30% of Black men would vote for Trump. And so I was trying to say, yeah, if 30% of Black men vote for Trump, then yeah, definitely Trump will win the election. And I was trying to say that the 10 or the unexpected 12% or whatever the percent was that voted for Trump in the 2016 election, that did sort of tip the scale for him. But I misspoke and said 30% voted for Trump in 2016. And he just played it like that, as if I was just throwing out misinformation. Everybody knew I meant to say 30% from the 30% projected in 2020. I misspoke horribly. The chat room knew it. The chat room clowned me about it. Everybody knew I misspoke, but he clipped it as if that was, so everybody say he takes stuff out of context. I don't know. I just know the one time when I did know the context, it was out of context. But I don't know for sure if he's doing that with everybody else, but it stands to reason. It definitely stands to reason that that's what's going on, that he's clipping some things out of context. But people do be saying some crazy stuff, hopping on panels saying some crazy stuff. So there's that. But the link is just recently sent to JR. So we about to get into it. But shout out to the Prophet of Thought series. He says, I got 5 on it just because. Wake your asses up. That's right. Wake on up. Wake on up. Tony Bay says, yep, the dangerous places have the best food. Gotta your life to, I think you mean gotta risk your life to get some chicken. Yeah, it's a rib tip joint in my city that closed down on me. A new one opened up, a little ways down from me. Well, down from where the other one was at. It sort of opened up to replace the one that closed down. But that one that was, man, I swear it was like in the heart of the hood. But oh my goodness. That was like some of the best sauce ever that they put on them rib tips. Get a tip and fry. Oh man. It was something serious. It was something serious. I don't know how y'all got on the topic of how you gotta risk your life in the hood to get some food. I don't know how y'all got on that. But sometimes that's the case. Sometimes, yeah, those places in the hood, they yeah, we're having some good food, and then you go home and you eating and you looking at the news and you hear about somebody got shot in front of the Leroy's Chitlin and Tamale Hut, and like, holy shit, I was just over there. I was like, I was just over there. JR, I sent you the link. Where you at? Bring your ass. Let me hit the like button. Let me quit playing and hit this like button. I'm on some bull right now. I didn't even, damn it. Haven't even liked my own video. Oh yeah, Leroy's. But JR, I sent the link. Hopefully you didn't bail on me due to my tardiness. I apologize for that. Make sure I got the link in progress and make sure I got it. These are important discussions. Not just from the perspective of, oh, this dude disagree. We about to roast him. We about to get at him. We about to come at him. We about to try to tear him to shreds, pick him apart. I mean, that sometimes that happens. Sometimes that happens. But no, these are good, important discussions just from the standpoint of hashing out ideas. I like for my ideas to be challenged. I like to learn something new. If I can learn something new from somebody, I'm all for that. So I invite and I welcome it. Now I saw JR in the chat, so hopefully he's not getting cold feet. I sent him the link twice, and we shall see. We shall see what happens. Mr. Shane Vicious says the liberals can't save you. The conservatives can't save you. But you wear the flag of save yourself. Uh-huh. So are you saying you can only save yourself? If so, you're thinking like a conservative. Liberals can't save you. Conservatives can't save you. White pussy can. Just get some white pussy and all is okay. Says no policies, neither liberal or conservative will save the community. The subculture is rotten. Yeah, you was right with me. Yeah, it sounds pretty conservative to me. It's like the people who are detractors against black conservatives, they'll say quite often, black Republicans Republicans aren't going to save you. Conservatives are not going to save you. Oh, liberals and Democrats aren't going to save you either. It's up to you to save yourself. Okay, cool. We agree. We agree, but one side is with the party that makes a lot of excuses and does everything to pacify people that we would agree that need some saving. One side spends more time telling people that we would agree that could use some saving. One side tends to tell them that they're victims. They're victims to this society. They're victims to this government. They're victims to all of this. Al Boogie says, but y'all like using Republican talking points. What's wrong with Republican talking points? There's nothing wrong with liberal talking points. There's something wrong with the liberal talking. Let me explain like this: the talking points aren't bad because they're liberal talking points. They're either right or wrong, or bad or good, based off the merits of the points and whether or not it makes sense and whether or not it has the intended causal effect on society. So it's not whether or not Republican talking points are bad because they're Republican talking points. That's another thing that I've seen our dear friend Aaron Fountain do. He said when they use, and he'll say, and that's just another conservative Republican talking point. He'll say that, but then I'm listening. I'm like, okay, do you mind explaining why that Republican talking point is incorrect? Like that's where I'm at with it. If there's a conservative talking point, if it's a Republican talking point, and you acknowledge that that's just a Republican talking point, okay, explain why it's wrong. That's where I'm at with it. And maybe we got somebody who could do that, because the one and only, the man of the hour, Mr. JR is in the building. What's going on? What's up? What the fuck is? I'm just looking at this up close for the first time. Hold on. Time out. Dude, what is that? Is that a baby holding a baby?
I'll let y'all take a guess. Take a guess for 15 seconds.
Okay, it looks like a bad dollar store Christmas ornament of a baby holding a baby, a gingerbread. Something like this. That's a weird avatar to go with. I'm sorry, that is just weird. But yeah, that's my guess.
Well, y'all don't hear my feelings. It's my niece.
Hold on.
My niece.
Hood service
my niece.
says, oh wait, hold on. Okay. I'll pull it back. That's unique. I thought it was like a Christmas ornament. That don't even look like a real human. It looked plastic kind of. But
Right.
If that's your niece, I'll pull it back. And Hood Server says white baby Santa Jesus. And so we do got to deal with this, Mr. JR. So judging by the hue or lack thereof of the baby, of the real baby in question, is you white?
No, I'm Mexican American, so I'm Latino.
Okay, all right. That sounds like a hell of a lie. You paused for like 15 seconds and like, well, approximately, I'm Latino. Okay, but all right, no. Either way, it's cool.
I was gonna mention that. Well, I think you that's gonna make me a target here later on, but it's okay.
No, not really. No, not really. I mean, if you say something stupid in relation to that, then yeah. I mean, we leaning with it and rocking with it today. So let's go. You're not the first Latino I had on. I keep calling him the incel guy. I forgot his name.
Mr. Incel, according to Platinum.
Mr. Incel. That is a good name that somebody needs to go with. Yeah, Mr. Incel. But yeah, Mr. Incel, he should change it to that. He should totally change it to that. But yeah, he was Mexican. Like, listen, I get people all the time. I'm an open book when it comes to a one-on. Oh, let me get myself back on the screen. But I'm an open book when it comes to a one-on-one. If I feel you can bring an interesting conversation, then I'm down with it. I don't care how big or how small your channel is. If I think that the audience will enjoy it and potentially learn something from the conversation and be entertained by it while learning something, then I'm all for it. Let's go. So that changes my whole perception of the thumbnail. Not that you're not black, but and I'm talking about saving the Communitah. But anyway, but I mean, you Latinos, Mexicans, y'all damn near in the same boat with us. So we gonna lean with it and rock with it. All right. So first things first, the corny question I always ask. Let's get that one out the way. How exactly did you even get involved? Yeah, Ronald, that was on purpose. Is you white? It was sort of like the Riley from the Boondocks when he be like, "Is you gay?" You kind of caught that. But yeah. So how did you get involved in this space? How did you find out about this space? What's your Marvel origin story to how you found yourself here involved in all of this nonsense?
Well, here's the thing. I don't really watch too much TV. It's just not really my thing. I don't
Mm-hmm.
like reality TV shows because they're fake. They're not really real. So I do a bunch of reading on politics and YouTube. Probably, I would say 2, 3 years ago. I don't know how I got to the first video, but I think the first person I ever came across was Sandman. So shout out to him. And I've seen the videos of a bunch of people: Tom Likas, Coach Greg Adams, Kevin Samuels, and obviously yourself, Obsidian. And I've just navigated through the different spheres. And I guess one thing, the reason that, and I really appreciate having me on. So we'll see where this conversation goes because I got a nice little bullet point list. But I guess one thing I've never really understood, and I think you'd be a good person to discuss this with before we continue on to the topic. I guess what I've never really understood is why politics isn't really discussed in this sector. The only person that I've ever really seen touch upon it is Sandman a little bit, but from what I understand, he's from Canada, so every country's different. Would you like to kind of take that question a little bit? I guess it's a touchy subject. People don't want to talk about it. What do you think?
I disagree with the notion that politics is not discussed in this sector. There isn't a channel that exclusively does politics, and when you already said Sandman is the only one that touches on it, like, and you being Latino, I could see you not really knowing the dividing line. Like there's a manosphere over there, then there's the black manosphere over here, and what they do over there, a lot of us don't even keep up with it. I mean, so far as just keeping it, looking at the black people in this sector, they're already talking about BGS Itmore. He talks politics a great deal. Angry Man changed one of his channels to the Street Conservatives, and Angry Man is one of the founders of this whole black manosphere. And I'm not even going to read that Darth Slothius. Shut up.
I understand. Well,
and hold on, real quick. Yeah, so Angry Man changed one of his channels to the Street Conservative, so he focuses on politics there. Now, during the political season, politics really cranked up around here. But I recently had Little Big Nate. I mean, he's just now starting his channel, but politics is his thing. Even though on his channel he's going to talk about everything, probably going to do about 25% politics, and that sort of speaks to the notion that this space, it was built on the social dynamics or the social contract between men and women. That's sort of what these content creators initially came in looking to talk about. That's what the algorithm was built off of. So when it comes to other subjects like politics, money, Bitcoin, cryptocurrency, trucking, picking up trades, those are things that we kind of just smuggle in. But the main focus is dealing with women, just talking about the varying social dynamics between men and women, or in the case of the black manosphere, black men and black women. But we certainly got people who do really well discussing politics.
Right. And I guess what I would say, and I understand there's a dividing line between the white manosphere and the black manosphere, but I think there's one of the gentlemen over there on that side that shouts out Kevin all the time, Replicant Fish. So I think
never heard of him.
That's right. Well, he's developing his channel, but he's one of those guys. He's real. He has a bunch of comedic value to his videos. But I guess what I'm saying is the issues are a little bit mixed in, and that's part of what I'm going to discuss here in a little bit. So, I mean, just kind of the intro of where I'm going to go with the conversation, and then in the end, it's going to tie it all together. So, what I would say is, just like the title suggests, I think in terms of liberal policies, the main talking point, I don't want to say it's a talking point because a lot of people don't really agree with it. They just really don't. But we're going to tie back to that. I think something is better than nothing. If I had to summarize the policies of the Democratic Party, what they did, especially in the 1960s, something was better than nothing. And I think the other side, which in this case, the Republican side, they chose to do close to nothing. And a lot of those policies, they did backfire in some way. And I'm going to acknowledge that. But I think right now where we are in modern society, it's much better overall than the 1950s, 1940s in terms of racism. And I think the way I would put it, Bernard, and I think this is a good analogy. So Tupac was, when he was in New York City and he was leaving the recording studios and he got shot. and then he went to the hospital, right?
You don't gotta use rap references to make sure that black people can understand what you're saying. I'm just playing. All right, go ahead. Go ahead. That was a joke. Go ahead.
No, it's a good analogy. Follow me on this. Right.
I know, but you only using it
follow me on the analogy.
You came over to the black sector just gonna use a rap reference to, cause that's the only way these Negroes going to be able to follow what I'm saying. I gotta go ahead. I'm done trolling you. Go ahead.
Well, Nas is my favorite rapper of all time, but we're going to talk about Tupac, because I think this is a great analogy, and I was thinking about this yesterday. So basically, when he left the recording studio, and he got shot, he went to the hospital and he checked himself out. Okay, so the way I see it in terms of democratic policies, minorities were given the chance. They were given the chance via different policies in terms of affirmative action, in terms of the federal Pell Grant, which started around that time period. So all these different policies, that was the part that was positive, right? So Tupac was given a second chance. And the thing about it is, when him and his buddies over there in Las Vegas after the Mike Tyson fight, when they were getting reckless and they beat up on the gang member, that's just the analogy to that in terms of modern society. Well, minorities have to be accountable. They do have to be accountable, and they do have to show personal responsibility. I'm all for that, right? So the thing is, we can't be reckless with the way we handle our affairs, whether it's in terms of politics or personal or business. We really have to step up to the plate. So I'm going to acknowledge that, but we're gonna cut back to that here later on in the discussion. But in terms of the 1960s, here's the thing: when it comes to these policies, there's certain things that I think a lot of people, I don't want to say they don't understand them, but I don't think a lot of people just the full scope of the policies and what took place. So, we have the Voting Rights Act of 1965. Obviously, the Civil Rights Movement was more so around the 1960s. We had the Civil Rights Act of 1964. We have affirmative action. I'm going to jump back to that later on. And then the Higher Education Act of 1965, which was authorized the Pell Grants. And I'm going to pause and focus on this one. And this is why it's important, Bernard. See, here's the thing. When it comes to welfare, the definition of welfare, a lot of people use that in a real liberal way. So a lot of conservatives, and someone can look it up right now. I'm not anywhere close to a laptop, because I don't, anytime I'm watching your show, it's always on the phone. But if you were to sit there and get on YouTube and well, not even YouTube, if you were to sit there and get on Google and you were to Google senator, and obviously he's not senator anymore, but former Senator Jeff Sessions and his basically his office, they created this big list in a memo of all these different programs that can't even really said to be a welfare. And one of those programs they listed is Pell Grants, right? So it's one of those things where it was directed at minorities and poor whites. The policy, that's what it's for. And I know I've received Pell Grants when I went to college, and I know a lot of gentlemen and women in the chat, they received it as well. So basically the logic behind it was, in the beginning, there's some money thrown at the issue of getting education. And yes, it costs money on the front end, but then on the back end, that money goes back into the government via higher taxes, because these people are making more money in their jobs, right? So let me ask you this, Bernard, before I continue on that point. Do you consider something like that as part of the government welfare program, the Pell Grants? Because some people do see that as a handout. Some people would see something as Pell Grants as a handout.
Real quick, JJ, thank you for the super chat. I appreciate that. He says it's up to the government. The clean men are out to lunch permanently. All right, thank you for that super chat. All right, so no, that's typically not what we're talking about when we're talking about welfare. We're talking about Pell Grants. No, we're not talking about. That's typically not what we mean when we talk about welfare.
Right.
But I understand there's a lot of I understand that there's a lot of things that fall under welfare, and that's something that liberals will quite often use to avoid looking at the major problems. They will point out everything that categorically falls under welfare, and then they'll try to say that, oh, all races in some way, shape, or form uses welfare close to equally. But when we're talking about what went wrong and where it went wrong and how it went wrong in the Black community, nobody is talking about Pell Grants. So that's why the people in the audience are looking like, what's going on? Is this they'd ask me, am I trolling? Like, what is he talking about? How is this a Pell Grant conversation? Like, Nobody is talking about how Pell Grants are hurting the community.
Well, let me expand on that. Here's the thing. I never said myself is part of welfare. That's not what I said. What I'm saying is the extreme right, the very extreme right, they toss all these different programs as if they are part of welfare, and it isn't. And that's just the problem. Because the solution to a lot of people on the far right is to do nothing. That's their solution. So, and that's kind of always been the issue in terms of what I've always had with Republican politics.
Well,
According
okay.
to
Well, hold
them,
on. Let
we
me
do
let me let
nothing.
me. Well, let me push pause on that. See, it's not necessarily do nothing. It's what's the effects of what's being done. He disappeared. He disappeared. We'll see what will happen with that. All right. Now I've always said that it's not that see, people can go wrong with this when they start trying to itemize everything. All right.
All right, so I lost some signal. Can you hear me?
Yeah, we could hear you, man. We could hear you. Yeah, when you're talking about okay, let me try to unpack it this way. Yes, there are some times when you can poke and prod at some Republicans if they're just saying pull back this, pull back on this, pull back on that. And sometimes, yeah, quite often I think you can pull back on Democrats when they're saying, no, we need to do this, we need to do this, we need to do that. What ends up happening is, for example, if you look at somebody like Thomas Sowell, an economist, when he breaks down the numbers of what actually happens when you increase the minimum wage, what actually happens when you give this program, when you incentivize this particular thing, this particular action, then more people will do this. And then when more people do this, it's going to have a result in this. And then the thing that you set out to help, you end up not helping it. So already you're kind of short-handing it by saying Republicans want to do nothing and that's bad, or so that's where I'm not really understanding where you're going, Mr. Fantastic. No, this isn't the black pill guy. This is another Mexican.
Well, here's my point. No, here's my point.
Go ahead.
Well, because that's where the assumptions. A lot of people thought I was going to come up here with talking points, and that's not where I'm going with it.
No, I got
in
you.
terms of right. Well, let's talk about welfare. Here's my thing. This would be my solution to it. So as I move down my bullet point list of different policies, we're gonna move in the direction we need to move to. So that's where I'm going with it, and it needed to be developed one step at a time. So in terms of welfare, what I personally would do if I were to sit there and be at the table and negotiating it, what I would do is it would be a one time big payment to people that are more on the working class, lower middle class side. And the first thing, a lot of people, there would be some backlash. There would be some backlash from people in American society. Well, why are we giving them handouts? No, that's the first part is we're going to
You
do it
said
one
give
time.
these handouts to the middle class. What
No,
did you say?
lower middle class, lower
The
middle
lower.
class.
So you're talking about working people making around 35K.
Right. But
Okay.
it's adjusted based on the cities in the United
Yeah,
States.
right.
But anything around below 40,000. So
Okay.
the way that the idea would be sold, it's a one-time payment, and then we're getting rid of the vast majority of what's generally considered welfare, food stamps, and the things we understand it to be. Right. So, and here's the thing. Quite honestly, the thing about all these policies, when people were sitting there passing these policies in the 1960s, there was very few, if any, members of Congress on the Democratic side that are.
Wait, hold on. Before we go
oh,
back to the 60s, it sounds like you were saying today you think they should basically
right.
do one buyout payment and then to these people and then remove all welfare. I mean, not
Right.
remove all well. Okay, well, you agreed. I thought I was straw manning you, but you agreed with the straw man. So you're saying do a one-time buyout payment. How much is this buyout payment?
I think something along the lines of maybe about $20,000. So,
Okay.
well,
So you
it's a one-time payment. So
you want the poor to get a $20,000 stimulus check and then eliminate welfare, and then after they I mean, it's their own stupid fault if they just take that $20,000 and then go buy a $15,000 car and a TV and then they're broke, but then welfare is gone. It's almost like it's damn near interesting. Like for example, somebody like me, if I was making, 35K and I got $20,000, I mean, dude, I don't. I'm not even going to brand. I was about to go down a rabbit hole, but yeah, it sounds like you want to talk about how liberal policies can help.
Well, I'm going to tell you the logic behind it. Well, wait a minute.
Okay,
I'm going to tell you
ahead.
the logic.
All right, go ahead. Go ahead. We listening.
Well, see, the thing about it is that's where you get a mix of it's not far left policy, so it would be like a conservative Democrat type policy, kind of the middle ground, which is what Clinton administration did during the 1990s, but they reformed it in a different direction. So the point is there would be some accountability, and on the other side of accountability, personal responsibility. Okay. See, the thing about it is, in terms of welfare, the way I think where it started falling apart is a lot of women they see it as a resource, right? When they're thinking, okay, I'm gonna get these food benefits and these type of things, they're thinking about, okay, it's another form of resource that we're getting, and that just kind of gives us the problems that we've had with single motherhood and the like. So, and we all understand what the tropes are in terms of Tyrone and Chad and all that type of stuff. But the thing is, the purpose is to mix. It really, here's the thing about it, Bernard. The point is to get us, in my opinion, and quite honestly, just straight up from my personal heart, the point is of these policies was to get us a little bit closer to achieving racial equality. That does not mean that everyone's going to be racially equal. The point is you give people opportunity to get closer to that, and then it's up to them. It goes back to the Tupac analogy. Here's your chance. You got your second chance in life, and if you get reckless and you spend all $20,000, that's your own fault. See, and the thing about these policies, there's a lot of people a lot of conservatives say that racism doesn't really exist too much, and that it doesn't affect society, and it's not the big problem we have in society. But you know what? You know the problem with that argument, Bernard? Let me tell you the problem with that argument. The reason these people can say that is because the democratic policies, however flawed they worked in the first place. They did fail at some point, but at the other point, they did work. And that's why minority conservatives can sit there and say, well, we got other issues. We got to sit there and make them accountable. And when it comes to those words, when it comes to personal accountability and responsibility, the problem is a lot of conservatives, white conservatives, they've used those words, they've racialized those terms, and they've pretty much, in a lot of ways, they've implied that because minorities, they're innately immoral, that's their problem, and that's where they are in society. And they conveniently forget the effects 400 years of racism has had on those different outcomes in terms of crime and all these little statistics that get manipulated by conservatives to imply certain things about certain races.
So now we've gotten to a place where the question then has to be asked, after you say that the policies are there to be put in place to ensure racial equality. What's stopping people right now, in your opinion? I have my theories on that. Is why certain people rather, yeah. January man, the thumbnail is crazy.
Well,
I made that. Hold on, I was just talking to my audience while talking to you, but hold on. Let's talk about the things that you think that's stopping or preventing people from having their racial equality. Because what I would say with that is, yes, there's some racism that exists, and any conservative that's saying that racism doesn't exist, he's wrong, because there's obviously some racist people. The $1 million question is the racism in this country systemic to the point to where a black person who's driven in this country, regardless of where he started, can he make it out of it? And is it the government's job to go in and try to increase the probability that a black person or a brown person won't have a worse start than the average white person? I think it's on the individuals on the ground, the people, to roll up their sleeves and do what they got to do to make sure that they have better outcomes for their children. Then their children won't be born in that situation, and then their children will have a better start. It's just going to take a bunch of people individually doing some things that make sense to plan a better future for their kids. And once they do that for their kids, then once that's happened in a lot of different places on the micro level, the macro is different. And then once the macro is different, then this conversation becomes irrelevant. But to try to say that these people on the ground are not charged with the responsibility to roll up their sleeves and figure out how to do better because some policy needs to make them do better, even though I'm going to assume you're doing okay in life. I'm doing pretty good right now, and no policy made that happen. I had to figure life out. So that's where liberals go wrong, and it just sounds like they're patting poor people, whether it's black people or Mexicans, on the head like retarded children. Like, oh, we got to do this, or we got to have this special class for them to go and learn how to stack blocks. Like, and that's where liberals become racist, and the policies become racist.
This is what I would say to that. If we're not talking about racism, what we're really doing, because it's a talking point on the conservative side, the first thing they say is Democrats and minorities, they're all about identity politics. Well, really what that really means, if we're not talking about racism, really what that really means is that condones, that's looking the other way, that ignores what white privilege has done in this society. And the thing is, when it comes to white privilege, that's a term and that's a phrase that a lot of people really and truly don't understand. If we're to go to any comment section of Yahoo where this concept is discussed, when people hear the concept of white privilege, they think it's financial privilege. And that's not what the phrase means. It does not get anywhere close to meaning that. It's talking about when a black man or a Mexican gets pulled over by a cop, they have to think in the back of their mind that there's a risk to them because of their skin color. There's white males and white females that get gunned down all the time by police. But there's a 99.9% chance it has nothing to do with their race. That's a form of white privilege. When you can have, and I used it before in many different ways, and I'll say it again. You know, there's a gentleman by the name of Barack Obama, and he had kids by 3 different women. What a lot of conservatives, a lot of racists would say, look, he had kids by all these different women because of the
Did you misspeak?
Of the black race.
Did you misspeak?
Right?
Whoa, stop. Did you must have misspoke. You said Barack
what did you think I said?
And then you said Barack had kids by 3 different women.
The StreamYard, it's muffled. Say that again.
You said Barack Obama had kids by 3 different women.
That's not what I said. Let me repeat it. I said if Barack Obama had kids by 3 different women, racists would have said, look, he's the reason he had kids by 3 different women is because of his race. Now, when you got Trump and you have a person that had kids by 3 different women, no one says anything about the white race. He's seen as an individual person who happens to be white. That's white privilege. But I don't want to keep dwelling on that topic.
It's kind of white privilege, but it is a stereotype, and stereotypes tend to exist for a reason, because there are a percentage of black men that make a lot of babies with a lot of different women. So yeah, it gets looked at differently. But we can't pretend like Donald Trump wasn't criticized, but he was criticized for a lot of things. But yeah, I will agree that yeah, a black man show up trying to run for president, and even if he had 3 wives, they probably will still look at it differently. I mean, I will give you that. And that's one advantage to being white in this country, that sometimes what you do is not looked at as bad. But as far as a practical standpoint of what you roll up your sleeves and accomplish in this country, people's perception of you don't matter. Somebody can look at me and they can say that's just another nigga, and I'm going to walk to the other side of the street to make sure I don't get robbed. They can have that perception of me all they want. That has nothing to do with the full practicality of what I'm going to roll up my sleeves and do as a man on the ground, as far as building my life, building a legacy for my kids. And that's why it turns into a whole nother situation where liberals are just saying, I feel like this, and I need you to feel this way. I need you to think about me this way and feel about me this way, because the thoughts in your head that you have when you look at me and my skin color or where I came from. The thoughts in your head bother me and affect me, and I'm offended. It's like it just sounds like more of that. Like, so what if Obama, if he had multiple kids, and I apologize for missing that when you said if they, I'd be low key daydreaming on y'all, so I apologize for that. But yeah, but if Barack Obama had kids by 3 different women, if he still was accomplished as a politician and ran a great campaign and people overlooked it and elected him president, then that would just be just some stuff some people would have in their head about him. But he still rolled his sleeves up and accomplished all he accomplished. So that's why I don't care about the perception. I care about results.
Right. Well, that goes back to what I said 10 minutes ago in terms of the welfare one-time payment, and really, quite honestly, it'd be a backdoor way to do a little bit more on the seeking to achieve racial equality, because minorities are disproportionately poor, and part of the reason is because of racism. So that's not one of those things where there's it's like
let's qualify
kinda,
that. Okay, you're Latino. I'm assuming you got some poor people in your family. How did racism make them poor? And real quick, before you answer that question, Ike Ogiamin. Ogiamin. I still be getting that name wrong. Shout out to Ike in the building with the $50 super chat. Appreciate that. Me and Ike will be going on not Saturday, but Sunday. Me and Ike will be going on Sunday, and it will be that's going to be a reoccurring series. That's going to be a reoccurring series. The conversation we had the last show was a damn good one, where we was talking about whether or not men are expecting too much from women. And then we got into breaking down how the whole modern day times and the whole scheme of how things are today, and how men should adjust to it, and how they shouldn't be expecting things to be exactly like they were. They should understand how things are and what they should do and how they should operate moving forward. Yes, Ike, with all his divine infinite wisdom as the king of Wakanda, Zamunda, and Pride Rock, he's going to let us know. He's going to let us know how we should move forward in regards to women. We're probably going to talk about a lot of other stuff as well. All right, let's go. Shout out to Ike again. King of Pride.
Here's the answer to the question. Over here in Texas, we have one of the highest concentrations of natural gas, oil in the entire world. Anything that happens over here in terms of oil country affects the whole world, the gas prices in the entire world. So this land used to be Mexico's, and if it was still Mexico's, there would be a great amount of wealth in the country of Mexico, and a lot of people that migrated from Mexico back into the United States, they would have never came over here. So there'd be a bunch of wealth over there. So that's all affected by racism. So there's one answer to that. Answer number two, and this is where
hold on. The question was, I said you're Latino. I assume you got some poor people in your family. How did racism make them poor? You went back to the Alamo, if I'm not mistaken. Like, is that where you do like when you talking about
Right.
Okay, so a non-Alamo example of how racism is making people in your family that's poor today. How is racism making them poor?
It isn't about making them poor. It's just they start off poor, and that's the whole point. Minorities are more so disproportionately poor because of racism, and now they're trying to take the step forward. It's not about making them poor, and I see where you're going with that. I really do. And the thing about it, let me toss another answer to the question. If you don't like it, we'll toss another answer, and then I guess we'll go from there. There's this policy that was called Operation Wetback. So basically, what it consisted of, the government rounded up hundreds of thousands of Mexicans and they deported them. So they deported them out of the country. And well, a lot of people, when they start talking about immigration, I don't want to fall into that rabbit hole because we'd be here all day. But that was another policy that comes to that. So, you deport people from land that was originally theirs. And the other thing about it is a lot of these people during that time period were helping feed the entire country because they were building crops, helping pick the tomatoes, the strawberries, all those type of things. So it's just like one of those things. And that's something that I think the Black community can understand very well. So, you have all these people in the Black community that help build this country. and they're not benefiting from the spoils of it. So here's the thing. I know where the argument with conservatives, where it really stands. Like, are we going to keep talking about racism for centuries and centuries and centuries? No. But when you got a guy in Donald Trump that goes out of his way to do racist stuff and say racist stuff, and it's not challenged by minority conservatives, I mean, I can't take these people seriously, Bernard. I just really can't. I mean, they act as if this guy doesn't exist.
Okay, I give you a half point on that one. That's one of my problems with black conservatives, because Donald Trump does say a lot of crazy stuff. I mean, it just is what it is. And yeah, some black conservatives don't want to properly call it out, and they'll dance around it. That's one of the problems I have with black conservatives, and that's why it took me so long to even come over to this side, because every black conservative that I ever heard talking, they were talking about they were talking to an audience full of white people, and I felt like they were it always seems like they're pandering. It wasn't until the Black Manosphere, which you said does not have it doesn't talk about politics that much. It was people in the Black Manosphere talking about conservative politics from a black conservative perspective, talking to a black audience, black men for black men, talking to black men, supported by black men. That's what officially pulled me in. So as far as the ones that are, kind of some punks when it comes to pointing out that, yeah, they're on some bull right there, I do take issue with that. But it seems like the main thing that you're doing, to go talking about what you were saying before, is you are doing the Latino or Mexican version of what a lot of black people do, and they get criticized for that here when they start talking about the problems that black people have today, and they go all the way back to Jim Crow. They go all the way back to slavery, and if need be, they will go all the way back to the shores of West Africa, and if need be, they will go all the way back to Egypt. They will go back as far as they possibly can to justify poor outcomes today. And for me, that will never work. I can follow the logic of an argument if we're going back and we're looking at, okay, when did the culture change and people started doing this behavior more often that resulted in this? I can go back to some, policy changes that cause people to start doing something different, and we can look at a snowball effect. But it's only so far you can go back, and even when you do that, you are still talking about people reacting to policy changes. Like, for example, we talk a lot in this space about how, yeah, there was a change after coupled with the free love movement. People started, the whole notion of traditionalism started falling by the wayside. There was a second wave of feminism. Women were free to do what they want, when they want, how they want. They had the ability to live and function on their own. Good for, and that part of me says good for them. I mean, I believe in choice. I believe they should have the choice to, if they want to work and take care of themselves and not be in a structured relationship with a man. I believe in freedom, life, liberty, pursuit of happiness. But there's outcomes and results to that. But those outcomes and results ultimately led to women raising kids by themselves, and there's outcomes and results to that, and that led to kids not being raised properly, and there's outcomes and results to that led to those grown-ups being unproductive or having an increased probability of being criminals. There's outcomes and results to that that led to a crime bill that was meant to deal with the criminals. There's outcomes and results to that led to a lot of people, being locked up or over policed, as they would say. But there were a lot of crimes and a lot of criminals, and there were some of the worst motherfuckers walking the earth getting locked up. But then it was people who was selling drugs, which is bad, but they was getting locked up for longer periods of time and longer sentences because they thought that would be a deterrent to get them to not do it. But there's outcomes and results to all of that. So we can just look at outcomes and results, but I'm not seeing this as a situation where I'm looking at hardcore systematic racism stopping and holding anybody back, especially today, from doing anything. I'm not seeing that. And so if we're talking about how liberal policies are going to change or affect anything, I mean, thus far, I mean, not to put you on the clock, but we're in pretty far in this. You know, we had to 54-minute. Well, you probably been on for roughly 40 minutes, maybe 30 minutes. Yeah, I'm not seeing how liberal policies is going to help any of that, because liberal, from far as what I can see, liberal policies, along with cultural changes, resulted in all of those step-by-step things that we can trace it back to. So I guess I'm trying to speed the conversation up to how can liberal policies actually help what's going on here and what's going wrong.
We're gonna get there right now. I mean, I told you I wouldn't come
Okay.
over here with talking points, and I'm not. I'm not coming here with
All right.
talking points. So we're gonna get here, and that just had to be a precursor to where we're gonna get to. Because quite honestly, in my opinion, if we don't talk about race, all this other stuff, in my opinion, doesn't make sense. So before I go on in terms of abortion, I'm gonna say this, and this is one of the main things I wanted to say on your show, and I really thank you for having me on. I would say this, and let me say this very, very carefully. Female nature is female nature. Male nature is male nature. The problem we have in modern society is all these different policies and our culture. It brings out the absolute worst aspects of female nature in terms of welfare and all these different social media welfare, which doesn't give people accountability. And that's where the one-time payment comes into play. So it's a mix of liberal, and some people would say that that eventually leads to conservative type ideals, but that's okay. But at its face, it starts off with the liberal idea of giving people money, which people are going to call it a handout. That's what they would call it, right? So let's move forward, and let's keep developing the research paper, because we're going to get to the central point. So in terms of abortion, this is what I would say. This is where, in terms of that, so if a woman gets to decide, and she does get to decide unilaterally to whether she's going to bring a human being into this world or not, what that really means is she's violating my rights as a man. So if she has 100% say, and if a human being's going to come here or not, then she's really violating my rights, because I don't get any choice in the matter. So the thing about it is, the problem is, and liberals and Democrats, they're over there talking about save the whale and climate change and all that, which is all good and fine, but they're over there distracted from what's about to come up. The Supreme Court's heavily tilted on the conservative side, and they're going to sit there and start pecking away, if not completely get done with abortion. So this is my solution to it. I said I wouldn't come with talking points. Well, here it is. Here's my solution in terms of abortion. So if I was a leader of the Democratic Party, Chuck Schumer, or one of those people, Nancy Pelosi, this is what I would start floating out there. So men, the way my idea would work is, women, they get one vote, whether they're going to decide to have the abortion or not, and then a man gets one vote. Okay, but then this is where the things get a little bit more complicated. There'd have to be a tiebreaker if it's 1-1. Where the tiebreaker would come into play is each person, the male and female, they get a lawyer, and it's going to get debated in front of a judge. So it's a real serious matter, and basically what the lawyers would they could take it where they want to take it. You know, the best man wins. Whoever's going to make the better argument, whether they want to bring up the character of that male or female over time, whether they want to talk about their business success, their education, what kind of person have they been over time. So, and I think whoever wins that argument, that's what's going to happen. And the thing is, I know a lot of people out there, they're going to say, well, that's not really practical. Like, women are going to fight you tooth and nail. Well, the thing is that the way that argument is presented, you get to take something or nothing at all. The Supreme Court's going to they're going to get rid of abortion completely, or you make some concessions and you meet in the middle of the table. And this ties back to, in terms of personal accountability and responsibility. So the thing is, the main conclusion, let me go ahead and say it right now, the main conclusion, all these different points, what they should lead to is fixing some of the problems we have with single motherhood and disproportionate poverty in terms of minority communities. So that's where we're getting to, one step at a time. So that's the thing I have to say on the abortion side. I mean, I don't want to make that more complicated, and I'm not going to get in the weeds of morality and all these different things, the late term abortion. But
Yeah.
that's my idea on that, and I'll let you respond to that, and I'll move to the next point.
I mean, yeah, you more or less just said what your idea was. I can't even look at that idea and say whether or not conservatives or Democrat. Like I like, okay, you talked to me. I had to understand that you were a Democrat, and you felt like more liberal policies would help deal with the problems in society and in communities, or I mean, Black community, Latino community, whatever the hell community, you think that liberal policies would help, but they're giving your opinion about what you mute up or something. You feel hear some shuffling down there. You're basically just giving your random thought. Well, if I had a magic wand, I would do this type of thing. That's not really a liberal idea. Do you understand what I'm saying? It's almost like I was under the impression that you were going to explain how Democrat or liberal policies would ultimately help, as I put in the title, the Communitah. And you're really just shooting from, I won't say just shooting from the hip. I mean, I will grant you that you offered, I guess, what amounted to a solution or idea, which so much nuance to it that I guess it might move the needle a little bit if that got passed. But that's nothing that no current Democrat or liberal has ever talked about or mentioned. So I can't even qualify that or count that as a liberal policy actually being more beneficial to the community. That's just a random, if I had a magic wand, I would do this type of thing. But Mr. Shane Vicious in the building with a super chat, he said, most of the SW was originally part of Mexico when the U.S. invaded. They took much of the land that Mexicans owned. Indigenous TV in the building says, Bernard, have you heard of a brother by the name of Clarence Brown? His Instagram page is called Male Translations. Just wondering, peace. No, I have not heard of the brother. Excuse me. Snuggles in the building says, don't you think the mindset that you were talking about was passed down during slavery through their gene? No. No, I don't.
All right. Well, let me respond to what you said, Bernard, because what you said is really important.
Real quick. Hold your thought. Mr. Shane Vicious says he's wrong. Abortion isn't going away. If Roe v. Wade is overturned, it sends it back to the states. 25 to 30 will keep it legal. Women will just travel. Interesting. Yeah, I'm not convinced that abortion is going anywhere. But go ahead. You wanted to respond to what I said.
Okay, this is what I would say. So here's the thing when it comes to that. The overall philosophy behind what I'm saying is to hoodwink races, and they don't even see what's coming. All these different policies is a way to hoodwink races and get closer to racial equality, and they don't even realize what we're doing. So that's the whole point. The whole point is to say stuff that people aren't saying, ideas that came from my own brain and that aren't talking points. You give people a 20K payout, and it's one of those things where it can't be racialized as easy as it's saying, okay, we're going to fight racism with more affirmative action. We're going to really do policies that are easily attacked and easily attached as being race based. So the 20K, that gets us closer to getting people in the middle class. Kevin Samuels, he always talks about the percent of blacks that are in the middle class. And part of that is in large part because of democratic policies. So it's all about hoodwinking people, and they don't even realize what's going on. In terms of the abortion, the gentleman, he's right when it comes to the super chat, but it's part of changing the conversation and the culture. And we're gonna get to that. We're getting to where it all ties together, because neither party right now is saying what I'm about to say. And I've said it in comment sections, and I want someone to really attack this idea if they think it's the dumbest thing they've ever heard. But you do not hear anyone on Fox News. You do not hear anyone on MSNBC. You hear no one on political.com. You hear no one that's any kind of thought leader in politics. There's close to no one in American society that's saying it in these terms to the point where it's getting out there and it's getting floated out there. People might say that his stuff is unfair towards men, and we say it all the time, divorce courts and all this other stuff. But no, the thing is, the framework is important. So if we got a gentleman, a very intelligent gentleman, and he's on this show, and he's making females say they themselves are average versus telling someone is average versus telling them they average, those two things do not mean the same thing. If you're telling a woman that she's fat versus making her say, I myself, yeah, you're right, I'm fat, it's not the same thing. So basically, one thing, the framework that no one is talking about is that females are sexist towards men. So a lot of these women, when they're disrespectful and they go out of the way to be jerks, I am of the opinion that it's a form of sexism. And the reason I make that conclusion, and the reason I state it in those terms, there's a real famous teacher, and she's been getting death threats for decades ever since she did this experiment. So her name is by the Jane Elliott. She's the famous person that did the blue eyes, brown eyes experiment. So what she would do is, I mean, have you heard of it, Bernard?
Yeah, I know about it.
Okay, great. So, and it's the same type of stuff. So when females are disrespectful and jerks for no reason, it's a form of sexism, and it's a real complicated argument to make, but that's precisely what it is. And it's about changing the conversation and saying, okay, and in my opinion, gender is a much more complicated thing than race in our society. So where men, where they have to take the high moral ground, you say, okay, we have a bunch of sexism at the corporate level and in politics and such a thing, and you just completely stay away from all this body positivity and all these different areas. And I'm not talking about dating. We're talking about getting closer to what we're doing. So when it comes to that, all these different things eventually should tie it back together where we get a little bit closer to racial equality. We reduce a single motherhood. We reduce levels of crime in our communities. Members of our communities that are committing crime. All members of members of each race commit crime. The whole point is we're focusing on our communities, the Black and Latino in this case, and that's what we're trying to do when it comes to this. So here's the thing. What I would say is, and this is where it goes back to the beginning of what we were talking about. And this is a real important point. It comes to, well, see, the thing about affirmative action, what a lot of people don't understand, and I'm sorry, I don't care what anyone says, that what I'm about to say, the vast majority of people, they don't know this to be true. So initially, when race was factored in terms of affirmative action, that began under the LBJ, JFK administrations, right? We all know what happened to JFK. And there was a backlash to that. Women are saying, well, wait a minute. And really, it's white women. They're saying, okay, so you're giving so-called benefits and you're giving a boost to minorities. And they were looking at white males. What are we getting? Like, I don't get this. I don't understand. So during the Nixon administration, it was expanded into gender. Okay. But here's the catch. And this is a real important catch when it comes to this stuff. And that's why all these different policies that I was talking about, it's a backdoor way to get closer to racial equality. And that's the whole point. People should not be thinking that we're trying to address racism. That should never be crossing people's mind. Everyone in the chat section, or 70% of the chat section, they should be thinking, why is this guy talking about these policies? And they don't even see it from a race perspective to address racism. So when it comes to this, let's focus on the gender thing. I'm gonna pass the mic to you a little bit, and you can address it and respond to it. When it comes to affirmative action, when it was expanded into gender, because 80% of the American population was white during the 1960s, all minorities, men and females, were 20%. Then it's real simple. 40% of the American population were white females. And in terms of sheer numbers, white women are the ones that benefited, so-called benefited, quote unquote, from affirmative action the most. And so when it comes to all these debates on feminism, and we're going to get there a little bit, I'm going to address that briefly. It's one of those things where it needs to really be crystallized on why that's true. And all these different policies, when they get attacked in a race-based way, it's you already lost the argument. It's just not a winning argument. Anything that affirmative action, conservatives, they've been lobbing cheap shots with this stuff for decades. And all these other policies, it makes it, the ones I'm advocating for, it makes it difficult to really attach race to it. That's my whole point. So I'll pass the mic to you a little bit, and then you can tell me what you think, and then I'll continue.
I don't think that much right now. D-Rock Den said liberal policies don't include or benefit Black men. End of. Indigenous TV says, be mindful of the ones who always want to link up. They usually just use Black folks as foot soldiers for their agenda and toss us aside afterwards. I don't think this is somebody who I don't think he got it like that. I don't think he got it like that. But I do know what you mean. I do know what you're talking about. All right. I'll be honest with you, man. You was all over the place. It was I got lost in a blizzard of words. So far as a response to what you just said, there was a lot of different things that I'll they saying open up the panel. I'm gonna open up the panel and see what happened here, because like, look, you keep going back to coming up with policies that would just be a covert way of trying to influence racial, or to implement racial equality. That's what that's what you're more or less talking about. That's what you're looking at. That's where you're going with it. And I'll be honest with you. there's a lot of different schools of thought on that type of thing. Whether or not they're being covert about it, I do believe that one good thing about liberalism, they, in a naive way, there are some of them that are true believers who do want to try to implement some type of racial equality, and they're actually working towards it, and they're actually fighting for it. Their efforts are futile. And then there's those at the top that they just want their power, and they just want to be able to pass their legislations and do what they want to do, and they pay lip service to minorities to rally the troops and get them to vote and say we're going to do this, make it seem like they're doing this, but most of what they do is stuff that ultimately just keeps people where they're at. And then once they keep people where they're at, they know they can continue to get their vote. So I don't see how anything that you're talking about, while you're talking all over the place, I don't see how any of it is going to actually help anything. I don't. I'm not seeing that. Yeah. So I'm lost.
One more
I'm lost.
One more thing.
Mm-hmm.
Right. One more thing, please.
Okay, I'm listening.
Okay. Well, in terms of men, it will benefit men. So here, someone's gonna have to challenge the sexism of women. Let's just cut to the chase. Someone it's for right now. I don't know.
But when you're starting with,
right?
Wait, stop. You came when you first contacted me. I believe you said something to Little Big Nate that he's a firebrand conservative, and you basically said you're the opposite. You're a liberal, but then you're saying somebody needs to challenge sexism. How can you be a liberal talking about liberal policies but challenging sexism when liberalism is so in bed with fighting for women and female empowerment and fighting against sexism, real or perceived? So that's the disconnect where everything that you're just saying is just I'm getting lost, and I think everybody else is just getting lost in a blizzard of words because it's foundational things that just don't make sense. You're talking about somebody has to combat the sexism, but you carrying the liberal don't go ahead.
Well, let me answer that because I knew that was going to come. Here's the thing. Well, what does it really mean to be a liberal? It's to make something dramatic change in society, to change it where it's going. The society's falling apart. Single motherhood, in terms of all the different things.
Yeah, liberal. Hold on. Wait, hold on.
That's what it means.
Hold on. No, you mean liberalism is falling apart. Don't just say the country is falling apart. Liberalism is falling apart. So the answer has to be the opposite of liberalism, but you got noticed in this space from fighting against people who are conservative, who's fighting against the liberalism that's falling apart while still claiming to be liberal.
If conservatives were so good at what they're doing, they'd be already addressing it. See, the thing is, during the 1990s and the early 2000s, they're over here talking about traditional family values.
The link in the chat, I think he probably legitimately had a connection issue, or he probably rage quit or disappeared in a puff of logic. I don't know. Oh, there you go. He's back. All right. I'm gonna let you go ahead and say something, JR. Then I'm gonna pass it to Sir Tice after you say what you got to say. Go ahead. You got the floor. JR, are you there? JR.
Can you hear me?
Right.
I have some issues with the StreamYard. Now, here's the thing. Here's the argument. Right. Now, it's a dramatic argument. I know it's a big logical leap, that's the whole point. It's a big change in society. So what we're really doing, we're changing from addressing, okay, yeah, there's sexism towards women, and that's why it needs to be structured in a way where we're just talking about sexism in terms of corporate, political, anything related to that. Women getting the opportunity to mobility and upwards. It's a dramatic change, and it's a dramatic tidal wave in the other direction. Everyone, you know why it's a liberal argument? I'm gonna tell you why. If we're really and truly liberal, it's rights for everyone. It's not rights for some people. So if those people are LGBT, they have rights. Women have rights. Men have rights. Everyone has rights. Blacks have rights. And if whites in a real way started getting discriminated against, because the talking point about reverse racism, it's always been junk. But if that started happening one day, well, we need to advocate for their rights as well. And that's why it's a liberal policy, and that's why it would be a liberal argument. That's the way I would structure the argument. Yeah, everyone deserves rights. And you know who else deserves rights? Men. Because men are getting raked through the coals in terms of divorce court and all these different ways. That's why it becomes a liberal policy. That's my argument.
Okay. Doug just summed up something that I was thinking, and you kind of more or less sort of responded to it effectively or ineffectively. That's up for debate. But Doug says that is JR talking about actual liberal policies? That's what I thought he was going to come on here to talk about. Or is he a liberal talking about what he believes should be policies? That's actually what's going on. And yeah, this is confusing, of which I agree.
Well, let me answer the question.
Okay, go ahead, answer the question. Then we're gonna pass it to Sir Tice, and then don't. Fantastic, about to get up here. Okay, but go ahead.
Well, the whole point is, if some of the policies aren't working, you advocate new policies. That's the whole point.
It's not that simple.
You sit there and you keep reforming the arguments, and you get to where you need to get. So yeah, it's where we need to go because some of the policies aren't working. So yeah, it's what I think some of the policies should be moving forward. And you know, I'm going to talk about some other thing, but I'll let these other guys respond and see what they have to say.
All right, go ahead, Sir Tice.
Hey, good morning, Bernie. Shout out to the guests. Shout out to the chat. Shout out, fan. To the guests, JR, brother. You listen. I don't want to be insulting, but I got to say this, brother. This word salad that you've put on today, if I'm reading the title, it says explain how liberal policies can save the communitah. You've not given one saying, like, for example, but you said you had your bullet points ready. Bullet point number one, if we give, for example, I don't know, free lunch, this will help kids have nourishment or whatever. I was expecting something like this. You actually had the audacity to say affirmative action when, number one, anybody who has a cursory knowledge of politics knows that the primary benefactor of affirmative action were white women. All right.
And in fact, I thought he said that. I thought he said that women were the benefactor.
They were, but he was saying that that was an overall benefit. Then when you rattled off the Great Society programs from the Pell Grants and what have you, you do realize that the reason that many people went to college at that time wasn't because they were trying to become academically inclined. It was they was trying to avoid Vietnam. Okay, so the other people who actually went to Vietnam, which unfortunately was disproportionate amount of us, we were affected by these social policies. Lastly, this abortion debate. No one generally gives a flying fuck about women killing their own babies to an extent. If they want to do that, let them. As the brother Little Big Nate said, they can walk off a cliff and let their hair hat hover in the water. Doesn't care. The issue is people have to pay for this. So when you have a public policy that funds this behavior, people look at it as an option. So with that said, with these Great Society programs starting in 1964-65, why is it? We all know the talking point. 80% of Black people married at the highest rate, had the lowest incarceration rate. How is it in less than 10 years that was cut in half, nearly half to 40% of these liberal policies? when we had, in other words, we sustained a marriage rate, a family rate through Jim Crow, redlining, and all that. So with that said, I'll pass the mic. Feel free to answer, sir.
Well, what you just said is a talking point in terms of Jim Crow and all that, but I'm going to get back to that. The thing is, if we don't fix what we have
How
in
the
society,
fuck is it a talking point
wait a
when I
minute,
give you
wait a
the
minute.
finish?
Easy.
Hey, I'm going to respond to that, man. I'm going to respond to that. I'm going to respond to that before the 1960s because I know everyone talks about that. I'm going to get to that, but the first thing I'm going to say, if we don't fix these problems, conservatives and everyone's going to pay for it. You know how you're going to pay for it? Social Security is going to go bankrupt because less people are getting married, less kids are going to be being born, less money is going to be going into the tax base. So basically, if you're not getting Social Security that you paid into the system, what that really means, you're paying it out of your own pocket to survive and live until you pass away. That's how conservatives are going to pay for it. Yeah. So the thing about it is, if we don't fix these issues, that's the problem I have with conservative politics, is do nothing. That's the thing. All policies have had problems. The Iraq War, which no one talks about, over 100,000 people got killed over there. You know who those people were? They weren't Americans. They were people from Iraq. Who authorized that? George W. Bush. So all policies backfired. Obamacare, same thing. So the thing about it is, had we done nothing in the 1960s with the Democratic policies, we would still have a racist society. And there's no way to know what would have happened in terms of everything else because of abortion.
Wait, hold on. Time out. The civil rights movement, which led to the Civil Rights Act, that's a separate thing from the feminism. I mean, you can draw some parallels and say they're connected, but feminism, abortion, free love movement, and the Great Society Act and all of that, those are separate. That's technically separate from getting rid of the racism.
I like
that. Let me respond to that. Let me respond to that. This is really important. Now, here's the thing. Throughout our American history, there's always been a tussle between black men and white females. White females have always turned to their white male husbands. I don't really get it. Why are they getting more rights than me first? So in terms of feminism, like a lot of people, a lot of scholars believe, it was led by white women, for the benefit of white women. Because in terms of suffrage, the right to vote, we all get taught in all these stupid history books that women got the right to vote in the 1920s. No, that's not true. White women got the right to vote during the 1920s. And until the Voting Rights Act of 1965, did white, in terms of all women, all races, Native American women, did they have the security to go vote and not get harassed? So that's not the thing about it is, so like I said, had there not been the civil rights movement, all these different policies in terms of feminism and abortion being passed here in the 1970s, those type of things would have still wreaked havoc on the black communities and the Mexican communities and all the different types of communities. That's my response to what the gentleman said.
Okay, well, we appreciate this, and pardon me for saying fuck or whatever, but you mentioned something, just lost my train of thought here. Oh, okay. What you were saying is that those policies led to this, but there was already a movement outside of the civil rights movement. You are familiar that there were plenty, I'm speaking from the black context, there were plenty factions that were not in support of the civil rights movement, but were still in support of the various rights that you mentioned that were not granted black people. Namely, by the way, you mentioned Voting Rights Act. The number one thing of the civil rights movement was the Fair Housing Act of whatever. I forget what it's formally called. Okay. Where basically you can live where you want to live, because you had insurance companies that legally had statutes that they could say, we're not going to underwrite this if you have black people here. So that was the main thing about the Civil Rights Act. And that's what these other factions outside of the civil rights movement were also fighting. One more thing, just when you mentioned the civil rights movement, you have to be familiar with who funded the civil rights movement, okay? And what were their motives for it. And I can give you a hint, it wasn't black people. With that, I'll pass the mic.
Okay, well, let me respond to that. Well, I got
sure.
That's a big talking point when it comes to the conservative side. No, wait a minute. Let me respond to that.
I'm not a conservative, dude. So let's stop with the conservative side and trying to minimize what I'm saying, the talking points, because you've yet to make one point, brother, about how this is going to benefit black people now. Right now, we're just correcting things in history that we're trying to lead to your points. So please try to funnel it back down to how this is going to benefit black people now. Continue.
Black men or black people as a whole? Because I'm not trying to ask a dumb question. Seriously, I mean, black men or black the whole race?
Bruh, it's your show. You take it however you like it.
Right? Okay. Well, let's get to that. See, the thing is, women at the central thing, when a woman wakes up, her main thing at whatever the cost is to get security in any kind of form. So when a man is providing her food, that gives her security from starving. When a man builds a fire for her, she's gonna get security. When a man builds a grass hut for her in the wild, she's gonna get security, right? So the thing about it is, women are gonna get security at whatever the cost. So we can fix the issues or we can't. In terms of men protecting themselves, in terms of marriage, what I would say, there's 5 bullet points. I'm not married. I don't have any kids. But if I were to get married, here are the 5 bullet points that I would have to meet. A woman would have to have sex with me within 3 days. Women know within the first couple seconds if they're sexually attracted to a man. That was non-negotiable. It just no kids. Obviously, that's I don't have to explain that one. In terms of age, I would say 18 to 27. Okay, because it shows a bunch of character. And I'm gonna get to the real stinger here in a little bit. Number 3, ambition when I meet her. So she's either a manager at a gas station, she has a nursing degree, some kind of ambition, because it's a character thing. I am not saying I will not pay 100% of the bills after we're married.
Wait, hold on. Wait. You sound like you just transitioned over to giving what amounts to dating coach advice.
No, I didn't. No, it didn't. It fixes some of the problems that we have. You tie all this
wait,
hold
on. Wait. We got that part covered. I mean, I'm gonna pass it to Fantastic, because if you about to give us dating coach advice,
this nigga putting out a personal ad, man. You trying to get motherfucking Consuela and Marisol and shit. The hell going on here, bro?
Fan, can I make one? Can I make one more last point before you?
One quick point, Sir Tyson.
One small point.
Passing it to Fantastic.
Okay, no, because he cited policy, and I loved for the people who love to go into policy. JR, have you heard of Daniel P. Monahan?
It rings a bell, but I don't know what he advocates. So refresh me.
Wow. So with all of this knowledge of history that you were espousing or what have you, Daniel P. Monahan wrote something called the Monahan Report, which talked about the state of Black America. And he was pretty much spot on. But there was one point in 5 years, and 5 years after he wrote that report in 1970, he wrote a letter to Nixon, and he wrote, "The time may come that the issue of race could benefit from benign neglect. We may have a period in which Negro progress continues and racial rhetoric fades. We need to focus more attention on Mexican Americans and Puerto Ricans would be useful." So let me just make that in simple English, and I'll post this link in the chat in his letter. Basically, we're gonna ignore those Black people. They're progressing. We just gonna let whatever happens, and we're going to put more attention on the Hispanic community. So you see, this is how your liberal policies, and by the way, Daniel P. Monahan, if we want to keep score, was a Democrat. All right. So you have to at least study this stuff before you speak. And with that, go ahead, McFan.
What's the question? I don't understand what the question.
It really wasn't a question. Hold on. Wait.
It was more of a statement.
Yeah, it was a statement. Hold on.
I asked him a question. No, he wasn't familiar with it, and this is a very important person who created policy that had devastating effects on Black America. Okay, but the fact that he's not familiar with
he was a senator
tells me something.
He was a senator. Now I know who it is. I've heard of it. He's a senator from New York. That's
all right. That's cool.
Well,
either way,
thanks for the Jeopardy question.
Yeah. All right. What is a senator? Okay.
Right.
What is a senator? That's the answer to the question. What is a senator?
Yeah.
No,
okay,
I said what the Monahan report.
Easy. Everybody, pump the brakes. Pump the brakes. All right. Charles Merchant in the building with the super chat. He said, "How did the Jackals get their own deal with Goldman Sachs? They left you liberal progressive dudes behind." GMB, grown man business in the building. He says, "Did you hear about Gold?" See, I was on the same wavelength right there. He said, "Did you hear about Goldman Sachs unveiling a plan to invest $10 billion into Black women?" Wow, really? Not Black families, not Black men, but Black women. Hashtag men first. That is interesting. I got to go do some research on that one. Yeah, that's a big wow right there. All right, Mr. Fantastic.
10 million.
He said 10 million or 10 billion?
10 million.
Oh, okay. Did I read? Okay. He
billion,
said billion.
My bad. He's right. My bad.
Yeah. All right. How do you invest that into Black women? I wonder what all that's going to consist of. That's interesting. But Anyway. Go ahead, Fantastic. You got the flow. You got the mic.
All right, good. Am I coming in clear?
Oh, very clear.
I bet. Listen, man. First off, can we get this, bro? Everything you say while trying to make a point is literally a talking point. Let's stop with this. You're not coming with talking points. If you're for a side of an argument, you have a talking point. If you're countering a point, that's a talking point. So let's just get that out of the way with this. I'm not coming with talking point shit. Everything you said, brother, all due respect, we've heard before because it's liberal, appease a nigga 101. Okay. Everything you talked about, we've heard about already. So my number one question for you, JR, would be, tell me the liberal policy since the civil rights movement, post-civil rights movement, that has benefited Black people as a race. Go.
You said that they were talking points. No, they weren't. The host of the show, he said, where are you going with this? You said you're coming up here to espouse liberal policies. And I made the argument that challenging female sexism towards men would be a liberal policy. And the reason that's a liberal policy, because rights for everyone. Everyone has rights. Men have rights as well. So yeah, that's not a talking point. A talking point is what someone's repeating over and over again after the fact that someone originated with the idea. So if you could show me all these different places where a lot of people are saying that women are broadly sexist towards men and that the liberal Democratic Party would challenge female sexism, I would love to see it. That's not a talking point. That came from my brain, and other people are going to repeat it. So other people
hold
make
on.
it a talking point.
Let me pump the brakes. There are people that have used that argument to say that it's really the liberal, non-sexist thing to do to support men's rights in family court. People have made that argument, and then the true liberal feminist side of it just scoffed at it and brushed it off the table. And it's also worth, and I think this is a point that Fantastic is getting to, there's a difference between an original talking point and a regurgitated talking point. But either way it go, it's a talking point all the same. So I think you'll probably be better served to say you're saying things that you believe are new and original, but to say it's not a talking point,
it is. Anytime you're making a point in an argument is a talking point, bro. Okay, let's just stop saying that. But you're dancing around my question very, very nicely.
I'm gonna answer the question.
Stop the MC Hammer. Stop the Michael Jackson. Answer the question. The question I'm gonna rephrase it for you. I'm gonna ask it for you again. Tell me the one liberal policy that's benefited Black people as a whole post civil rights movement. Go, please and thank you.
All right, go to dictionary.com and look up talking point. It's not a talking point. I'm going to answer your question.
Okay, well, we're past that, brother. Just answer the question, please, and thank you.
I'm going to answer the question. Here's two. When we challenged the Iraq war, minorities and working class and lower middle class people are more likely to go to war. So by challenging the Iraq war, there was less of a chance that minorities were going to get slaughtered in
that's not a liberal, brother. You're supposed to answer my question. I got it. Hold on, brother. Right, I'm gonna re-ask you my question again. I don't think you heard me. Se habla inglés. Okay, listen. All right. Tell me.
Got part two. I got number two.
Tell me the liberal policy that has benefited Black people as a whole post civil rights movement. War would not be a fitting answer, sir. Anything to do with war is a wrong answer. So anything talking about war is irrelevant. I'm asking you, tell me the liberal policy post-civil rights movement that's benefited Black people as a whole. Go, please and thank you.
Obamacare. And the reasons why, because a lot of people, they go bankrupt because of healthcare costs. So, and the thing, there's a bunch of studies that show that Black men and women, that because of the cumulative effects of racism on there, and I'm not the ones that wrote the studies, PhDs wrote the studies, I'm just repeating what they say, that Blacks are more likely to die from stress because of the cumulative effects of racism. And in a bunch of hospitals, minorities they would get less care because of racism, the inherent racism in the hospital system or from doctors. So yeah, that's the answer to the question.
Show me. Okay, now show me. Even though you're saying that these are people that did studies or whatnot, show me the proven study of proven racism. Go.
I mean, you would have to look it up. I wrote all the different.
Define racism.
Racism, something that affects one group differently than the other group in terms of race, and it can be tied back to race.
So are Black people the only people that suffer from racism?
No, other groups.
Okay, so why is it so inherent versus black people versus everybody else?
So you're saying that they're so you're telling me that racism is less of a factor in society. That's kind of where it seems like where you're going.
I'm saying to you that again, you're coming up here talking about not having talking points, saying that the number one issue and problem for black people is racism. When again, racism has been around and it's nothing new. It's pretty much not changed for however many hundreds of years that we've been here. Black people have had other people come here, like your own demographic of Hispanic or Latino. I don't know what the proper thing would be to call it, but you know, people of Hispanic and Latino descent or heritage, Asian people, Arab people, actual African people, and all these other people have come to this country, okay, despite having the same you know, even with the same phenotype. And you know that Nigerians are like the highest grossing demographic in the country, right?
I've heard of it. Yes, I've heard that.
Okay, so explain to me how a person that looks exactly like me, all right, you niggas can get the African jokes in, okay, you know, that looks very similar to me, okay, but doesn't even speak the language, isn't from this country, comes to this country, outperforms people that were born here, know the language here, know everything about being here, and yet and still racism is an adequate excuse for the lack of success for black people. Go.
How do Republican policies get us any closer? What are their policies?
Very
Because
simple.
Hold on. Yeah, I understand that you want to flip it around, but your name is on the dais and you came in expecting you to do something. So when they ask you that question, yes, you technically can try to throw it back, but you got to answer. Like you can't, you more or less can't throw it back. I mean, you're here
with a gorilla, bro.
The burden. What I'm trying to say is the burden of proof is on you today.
Yeah, you locked in here with a gorilla, bro.
No, no one's over here trying to deflect. I mean, I put like half a dozen bullet points. I said female sexism needs to be challenged, and I said that everyone deserves rights. So someone's going to challenge their sexism. Now, you tell me, are the Republicans doing that right now? No, they're not. That's the answer to the question. Who's going to do it?
I think. The Republicans.
No, wait a minute.
Well, hold on. I got to give a quick thing. I'm going to answer your question directly since you said it. You're right. Republicans aren't doing it, but at the same time, Republicans don't have the power to do it because they're outnumbered in the Senate and in the House. So they don't have the authority to do anything. They're at the mercy of the Democrats.
It's going to flip in a year and a half. Usually what happens.
Well, we're not talking about a year and a half. We're talking about now.
Right. Well, I told you what I think should happen. I think female sexism needs to be challenged. And let me say this. This is one of the most important points in this entire discussion. All right. So at the end of the day, like I was saying earlier, women's overriding goal is to get security. If they're not getting marriage, that's one of the main reasons they're not going to get security. So I think this whole idea that it's unrealistic for women to begin challenging on their own. Women are going to begin challenging their own women because they're not getting what they want. They're not getting their nephews. They're not getting their grandchildren. And they're not getting it because men aren't marrying their sisters, their moms, all these different people. So this whole idea that's automatically going to be the Republican Party.
That's our conservative argument, by the way, just so you know.
Yeah. And furthermore, do you know the statistics? Do you know the statistics of black women that claim to be bisexual or lesbian?
It's irrelevant.
You know,
it's a side.
No, it's not irrelevant. See, bro, you get up here making an argument. You don't understand the complexities and the very deep importance of a group of women that you're saying we're trying to defeat in feminism and all these things.
Something briefly to this.
Oh,
he dropped out. He left.
He dropped out. He got a bad connection.
Yeah, his stuff go in and out. But y'all go ahead. Y'all got it.
Since all we do is talking points, I'm going to say a talking point. We all know that feminism and women benefit because there's a government that backs these policies, okay? And those policies tend to be more liberalism. So what he says
your camera on,
is
bro.
Not true. Oh,
what
he says isn't true. No, I was going to just wrap it up briefly. Okay, let me say it to you. Can you hear me now?
Yeah, everybody can hear you.
No. I was talking about JR. I was talking about JR specifically. But okay, here, it'll get repeated. These policies that he says that are beneficial actually enable the behavior that he says that they would force them to correct. So he's saying it'll be if we're more on the liberal / left side, that'll force them to correct their behavior, but that's not true.
Yeah, that makes no sense. Liberal allows women and more excuses to go do anything but marry a man. It gives her several outs other than going back to the natural recourse of a husband as a source of provision and protection. So again, you dropped out. I don't know if you can hear me. You back, but listen, the to say that the number of alternative lifestyle Black females in the community is irrelevant, bro. When again, if these women aren't choosing men to marry, but they're still choosing to have children by men and raise those children, especially young boys, under a liberal ideology of where the mother is literally he has two mothers now. Where's going to be his respect for the masculine principle and understanding how to become a man? That this is the major issue and problem that Black people have uniquely that than any other demographic in the country, is that the lack of fatherhood and the lack of male leadership in the household is what keeps these women in power. And if and when you get enough men to get in a space like this and start telling men what needs to be done, well, now you have these men that have never ever heard a man talk have to get pretty much retaught how to even begin manhood through the lens of an actual man's experience and his knowledge for the first time after 18 years of being raised under two females, bro. So when you say 23% of Black women identifying as either bisexual or lesbian isn't a big deal when you only account for 13% of the population, bro, that's a huge deal. Then you couple that with, again, what you already have 70% of these females have 70+% of these females having children as single mothers, whatnot, what have you. Again, man, it's like when you're talking to Black people, this doesn't apply the same because we're not going through what anyone else is experiencing in this same country. Even if and when a child is born out of wedlock in a Hispanic situation, we know due to Hispanic culture that more likely than not, they're still going to grow up around that father. Whether the father be legal or illegal or whatnot, what have you, you're still going to have a strong patriarchal culture because that's just how you guys get down. But you flip it over to the Black aspect of it, and it's the total opposite of that. And it's just like you keep feeding us all this stuff we already heard before, and you still yet haven't given me one thing that's positive that liberalism has provided for Black people post movement. Yeah, Obama and the Obamacare shit. The Obamacare thing is a farce also because, again, man, listen, what came to find out was a lot of these people still didn't end up getting the healthcare as it was responsible and had to end up paying the penalty because niggas just didn't care because they didn't need it.
The individual mandate.
All right. Time out. One quick note here. Two things. First, is this Solo TV 84's other channel? I looked it up. It don't look like it. Is this like a troll?
Nah, I don't know who that is.
Only premium Solo TV?
That's somebody else.
All right. Well, somebody else stop spamming the chat, whoever you are. And I don't know if you're making like a fake Solo TV 84 channel or it's just a random coincidence. Somebody, I don't know what's going on there. But yeah, just stop spamming the chat and you can hang out with that name for now. There, I said it.
Let me respond to the 2 points.
Real quick. African booty scratchers have strong fam structures, thus economic success. Liberal policies perpetuate broken fam in Black community. Thank you for the super chat. There, I said it. And you're being racist.
Hey, why hasn't this?
Shout out to Communitah. Oh, we got to.
Well, can I make the 2 points?
Hold on. Communitah Kente. That's some funny stuff, SKC. You got me with that one. You got me with that one. All right, go ahead, Sir Tyson. We're gonna pass.
Let me respond to that, Bernard.
No, JR. It's to your reply. You're here talking about Black people and such. How come you haven't talked about one of the number one values of the Hispanics in the fact they're family? Okay. You know, you're preaching down to us or what have you. Well, these policies will help. Meantime, the family structure there is much promoted. So how come you haven't said anything? And you've yet again to make a point how these policies will help us. You talk about you conflate things from Obamacare, which benefited everyone, and there are studies, as Fan mentioned, that how Black people really didn't benefit from this. But just go back. I'll just go back to the Hispanic point or what have you, where we know family is more important there.
All right, he didn't say anything. The RX dash
Well,
O
no,
says, brings
there's a change.
Bernard in the panel. Question to JR: how can there be ever order without structure? I think that sort of lines up with what Sir Tice just asked him. So go ahead, JR, you answer that question. Then we got to go to Kun to Kente. Go ahead.
Well, it isn't about preaching, because one day when I was on Obsidian show, I said that there's a problem in the West. And you know what's really weird? That very night, 2 hours later, there was a bunch of women that called from Canada. So this whole notion that I can't talk about broadly the issues that we have in our society because I'm Mexican and I happen to be on a panel that features a Black host. I don't really understand that logic. So that
wasn't the main point, but you know that. Good tap dancing. Good tap dancing. That wasn't the main point of my question.
Well, no, I'm going to answer your question. Okay. Well, what am I supposed to? Here's the thing. It sounds like what you're really. I mean, what do I get out of it saying here? Okay, yeah, Hispanics really care about family, and we have less issues in our family because of that. Like, I don't. What's the point of that? I don't really understand that, because the thing about it is when a lot of people from Central America and from Mexico that come over here, they're first generation Americans, right? I'm a first generation American. And like Mr. Kevin Samuels has said, only in a country like this can people be worrying about and complaining about certain things like feminism. Over there in Mexico and these poor countries,
you promote feminism.
You either survive with your husband and the family or you don't. No, that's not what. No, I don't. Because the thing is, I promote the idea that people have the right to try to shoot for gender equality. That's not. I don't support feminism in the sense where it's developed into what we have now. In the beginning, it was about having the opportunity, fighting for the opportunity for women to get equal job and educational opportunities. And then now it's developed into, I don't know what it is. It's just, it fell off the rails a long time ago.
But
so yeah, the thing.
But do you know the numbers on that though?
Hispanics,
just real quick, because you referenced Kevin Samuels a couple of times, and I think Bernard mentioned Thomas Sowell a while back earlier, and this is what Kevin Samuels references Thomas Sowell to the point of where there will never ever be gender equality because women simply don't do what men do. Men work more hours per week than women do. Men work higher paying jobs that are more physically intensive. They take less time off. Men do things that women just don't do. So again, Thomas Sowell disproved this whole gender wage gap thing, I think 30 plus years ago, man. It's been disproven. So the fact of the matter is you're up here trying to again, like promote this fantasy thing of there being no two things are equal other than something to itself. Okay. Even two men aren't equal. Okay. Me and another Black man, just because we're Black men don't mean we're equal. We don't have the same drive. We don't have the same skill set. We don't have the same physical ability. We don't have the same mental capacity. So again, you're is what you're saying you're not doing. You're up here pushing a liberal talking point about gender equality, racial equality, all these equalities. All those things are false equivalencies because again, something is only equal but to itself, man. A person and an individual determines who or what he or she accomplishes in life. I'm living proof of this. Bernard's living proof of this. Sir Tice, SKC, and a bunch of the brothers that are in the chat. What you do, or I'm going to say you, I take it back. What liberals do is they get up here and they tell us, we need to tell you what you need to do because you're not smart enough to figure it out for yourself. Yep. And listen to us because we know better than you, even though we're not you. So that's the problem here, brother. And again, you came up here saying about it's not a talking point, not a talking point, not a talking point. But I've not heard you say anything that I've never, ever heard espoused before. So that's my thing.
You heard that about abortion? You heard that about abortion? You heard that about abortion? One vote each, a man and a female, and then the other vote gets taken by, in terms of the lawyers have to argue for each side. You've never heard that before. I will
give you credit for that. But you know why I haven't heard that before? Because it's asinine and it's stupid and it's a whole lot of time wasting, money wasting, and you would be having a morality argument versus a legal argument. A courtroom is not for morality; it's about law. So you would be wasting a whole lot of taxpayer dollars, your own personal dollars, time, and all these other things for what? For whether or not you're going to allow a person on an individual basis to abort a baby. You think a judge is going to hear? How many of those cases would you be hearing? You know what I'm saying? In a month, in a year.
It would be a lot of cases
what's your
where
solution?
it'll be a lot of cases where the woman want to keep the baby, the guy don't want to keep the baby, and they both got to go before the judge and make their case as the listen,
Bernard, even when you agree, Bernard, listen, even Bernard, let's just say it's agreed upon as to where they both don't want the baby, but you still got to go before the court to allow it. That's a waste of time and money.
You didn't hear.
No, I didn't say that. No, I didn't say that.
Hold on, we're gonna okay. I'll accept that you didn't say it exactly like that, but we're gonna go to Kunta Kinte. But that's why what you explained, Fantastic, is kind of why I said it was an argument that was basically like, you know how when you're in school, so a lot of times they do that in elementary school. If you were president, what would be the one thing you do? And then everybody come up with some magic wand example of, if I was president, I would make it to where such and such. But in all practicality, when you grow up, you realize, ooh, that was not going to. That's
the
not
solution you asked. The solution you asked, JR.
You got to go.
The solution you asked was already mentioned.
Hold on. We got to go to Kunta Kinte.
Love this Kunta.
And he got a chart up here. He always come with the charts. So what we got? What's going on?
Yeah, I just heard the thing. I think it was earlier during the discussion where JR was saying that back in the civil rights period, there wasn't a lot of Dems that were in control of this or that. Well, this is the chart that shows that from 1933 all the way to 1937, you just look, the blue controlled the majority of the House and Senate. There were stretches of time where between 57 and 81, where they had a 26-year run of dominance. And if you take out the 6 years between 80, I think that's like 81 and about 86, that dominance goes from, really, if you want to go for it, it goes from about 1935 all the way to 1937 or 1997. So that whole idea that there wasn't any real power that they had, a lot of those policies or whatnot. And I'm not trying to argue for either side. I'm just saying this is the actual data. This is the chart. So when people have those discussions, I think it would make a bit more sense to show people what things actually look like instead of sometimes presenting revisionist history. That's all I have to say.
Go ahead, JR. You can respond to the information.
Right. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Hello? Okay, well, let me say this. You know why they were in power so long? Because they were so good at what they did. FDR was a Democrat. He was the only president that got elected 3 times in U.S. history, and then they changed the Constitution because of him. So we're too worried about defending this country.
What specifically did they change?
Hold on. You do understand there's a difference between politicians being good at getting elected, but bad in terms of their ideas and policies that they're pushing forward. You do understand that's a difference, right?
I mean, we did well. We're still here. We're not dead. We weren't conquered by
so if
Japan and Germany.
If the bar for a government is for not for us to not be dead, that's a low bar.
Right.
No, let me answer the question. American society wasn't ready to fight for civil rights until the 1960s. It was a perfect storm. So Vietnam and the society was falling apart. And one of the things that Tim Wise, one of the most elite, American society wasn't ready to fight for it. What else do you want me to say? I mean, really what it sounds like you're saying is, well, Democrats should have addressed this stuff a long time ago, 1920s, 1930s, 1940s. I mean, it's just ridiculous. It just really is, because a lot of that doesn't even really have to do with politics. It was just the racism in general, everyday life. And it got to the point where someone had to address it. It was either Democrats or Republicans. And in this case, it was Democrats. I don't know what else to respond to that.
I would highly recommend you do more study of history than your cursory knowledge, because clearly you don't know. Number one, democratic policies of today were vastly different than democratic policies of 40, 50, and even 60 years ago. Quote, Lyndon B. Johnson, you know, we all know the quote, I'll have those niggers voting Democratic for life or what have you. Many of the sponsors of the civil rights bills
200
were
years.
not 200 years apart. Thank you for the correction. Many of the sponsors of the civil rights bills were so-called Republicans. We get too caught up in what jersey you wear and not actually looking at the policies. And that's what you're saying. You actually have the audacity to say, well, it's just because we're still living. Well, there are people still living in China, despite the fact that 100 million people have died through Mao. But hey, I guess that means it's a success in a sense. So your knowledge of history, man, and how you bring up points, man, is abysmal, I must say.
Yeah, the
Nah,
only thing
let me
the
respond to
only
that.
thing I
Here's the
was
thing.
saying,
FDR started.
well, Jr. The only
Can I
thing I was
respond?
saying, I wasn't saying the whole thing about FDR. Even if you take FDR out, that doesn't explain past what around 1950 all the way to 1997. That's not FDR at all. So all I was saying is why don't, instead of having these discussions, like when you said you had point by point stuff, why not actually show the data and also show the policies? Leave links to where people can read the policies themselves, or you can highlight different things out of them instead of just telling people what they should believe. Why not give people the ability to be able to think for themselves?
SKC, he only brought up one. I asked him I asked him about post civil rights, and the only thing he came up with was Obamacare.
I gave him one in my spiel, the Fair Housing Act.
Well,
that is one.
I think it's done. I think it's done on both sides when these type of discussions come up, because people present things and then they're not allowing other people to look at it themselves. They're just telling them what their interpretation of it is. It's like, no, just give people the stuff, let them be able to think. Because if not, you're going to create a class of people who always look towards a leader.
But then they wouldn't be liberals, SKC. That's what liberals do. Liberals have to tell black people and everybody else how to think, because they know what's best for them more so than them. So that's what liberals have always done. They came to the black community and promised this and told you they hunting you, they killing you, you should be scared, racism. They don't want to let you vote. Yet and still making sure that you take your ass to the polls and vote for them in mass and without having any type of understanding of, political policy or even the branches of government or any of the things outside of what, your grandma and granddaddy told you, as far as, this person is racist or that person is racist. And if you ask a person a simple, political or economics question, they got the deer in the headlights look. So,
yeah. All right, real quick. Truth is, I know it just hopped on the panel. I've heard a few people say this in the chat. Why is a Latino speaking for the Communitah anyways? He's not exactly speaking for the Communitah. When he emailed me, he said, the problems in society as a whole. And my bad on this one. I did think he was black. I mean, he'd been in this space. He's been on Obsidian's panel. He was challenging Lil Big Nate to a debate. So I figure, hey, he got the balls to try to call out Lil Big Nate, challenging Lil Big Nate to a debate. I figure he can hold his own and come up here. And I was like, hey, if you got that much fire in your belly and you're liberal and you want to come up here and talk some liberal shit, come your ass on. So I just invited him to the show on Friday, and we get what we got.
But Bernard, can I say this real quick? Yeah. Bernard, let me say this, man. Listen, we got to get out of this ideology, man, of like the only people that can say something to us is us. That's why we are where we are.
No, I agree. I'm with you. I'm with you on that, but it sometimes can get goofy depending on who we.
Yeah, I understand. Yeah, the motherfucker got to be cut out for it, and Buddy's not looking like him nor his connection is cut out for it today. But just saying, I'm just saying, man, we definitely got to get out of this thing, because what I'm telling you guys is this, bro. A person that you can learn something from, a wise person, I don't give a fuck about their race. I don't care what they look like. I don't care about any of those things. If they're a wise person or something that can add something to the improvement of my situation in my life, I'm all ears. And again, if it's even a good discussion or a good debate, as long as they have a great solid foundation of which I'm able to learn something from during the conversation, I don't mind that. We just definitely got to get out of this thing. It's about, who's this Mexican nigga saying something? Like, come on, man, stop it. We too grown.
Yeah, and I understand that, but see, mute up, JR. It sounds like you, yeah. I understand what you're saying, but what I don't want to do, and I shouldn't be worried about that because it ain't going to happen in this space. But a lot of times, liberals of a different race start trying to say what's best for black people, and that's the problem at a larger scale that we got going on. But so
That's
it's
how
a problem.
feminism started.
Yeah, it's a problem.
But I think the best thing to happen is
scale, but in this space, we gonna smack it down. You can come in and you can say
that's what I'm saying, Bernard. That's what needs to happen. You need to see this shit happen in real time, is where a person that's not you is trying to tell you what's best for you, and they get embarrassed. That's why I would encourage it. I love that. I don't give a damn if a person has a PhD or whatever the fuck, bro. You're not gonna tell me anything about being a fucking black man and what the fuck I need and my life story and my success and the people around me, not just me.
Fantastic.
Ideology.
I think that's some of the reason of why when you get a little bit higher up the ladder when it comes to these type of things, that's why only certain types of individuals can bring those conversations to those people. Hence, your representative is Cardi B. Your representative is T.I.
Well, I was at least hoping for this brother to at least say something that's gotten defunct, by the way. But like what Obama did to Our Brother's Keeper program, which is now defunct or what have you, at least say that. He's not named one thing, and it's usually when things are targeted towards black people. We all know what it is. Shout out to GMB's chat. It's usually going to black women first or what have you, with the whole Goldman Sachs thing. So,
well, hold on. That's not fair, because he said that black men not getting their heads blown off in war has been a benefit, and we're not all dead. We're still here. So there's been some pretty good policies that you're not.
That's a good point, brother. I forgot.
I just gotta say, JR just got back on the panel, but as far as the liberal pushback in this space, man, hey, the commune niggas ain't so bad right about now. Fantastic, you and Hood Conservative, man, y'all had good opponents with Mike V, MOT, or whoever the commune niggas are.
Commune putting up a good fight.
Commune niggas ain't so bad. But Ace in Spades says, shout out to Fantastic. That was insightful. Definitely. Darius D says, leftist policies won't fix anything for us. And Ace in Spades back in here again says, Bernard supported in the show. See, I think Ace in Spades is another one of those liberals who support the show and hang out. So yeah, I do. I wouldn't mind having you up someday. But JR back in the building. I don't know what's the last thing you heard, the last thing you want to respond to. I might end up doing a shorter show today. We'll see how it goes. But JR got the floor, got the mic. Go ahead.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, and you in your car?
Can you hear me?
Yeah,
Bernard?
we can hear you. You in your car?
Nah, because the thing is, I was in this. Well, now I was in this building. I don't know, for some reason.
I mean, if you can go home with your under
bad,
your
signal.
Like you at work or something? I mean, if he in his car, in his own.
No, I have a knee-based business. That's what I do. So my business. So when I'm listening to you guys in the background, that's pretty much what I do.
Oh, okay.
So let me respond to that. The thing about blowing up in war.
Well, damn, nigga, you need good Wi-Fi for eBay, don't you?
I mean,
goddamn.
You running an internet-based business with bad Wi-Fi?
Yeah, your shit is horrible.
I thought he was one of them cats that be in the
a lot of times
driveway.
Wi-Fi is worse.
I thought he was
Why
one of them cats. I thought he was one of them cats that be in the driveway hopping on panels because he can't do it in the house. Wife be putting him outside, so you got to go.
Sponsored,
You got to hop on the
sponsored
panel.
by Boost Wireless.
But all right, go ahead. You got the floor.
All right, so here's the answer to the question. So, I mean, I don't understand what's so funny about the war thing. I mean, you guys know who Ali is. What was he doing? What was he doing during Vietnam? I mean, can y'all help me out on that? So yeah, it is a policy. When
Muhammad Ali?
Liberals are fighting.
You really don't know what's so funny about that?
No, wait a minute. No, you know who goes over there? Let me who goes over there. You're not going to cut me off when it comes to this.
No, you asked the question. You said you didn't know why it was funny when it's hilarious.
Working class black. So don't come over here and tell me that policy. I answered your question. You know what? It is a policy that helps blacks because they don't go over there and get killed over there in Iraq. When they're
whoa, hey, dude, calm your ass down, man. Relax. All right.
Who was the last president to fight in a war?
All that huffing and puffing. You guess. Yeah.
Who was the last president to fight in an actual war? I'll give you a hint. You said it. So don't use that as a mere qualification, dude. Seriously. The current president didn't fight in any war. So weak talking point. Continue.
Well, hold on, too. Furthermore, that's almost like a conservative talking point. What's his name? Glenn Beck. When he was, he was on drugs, he admitted he had mental illness, and he said that Obamacare was reparations for black people. That was his idea, and that sounds very similar to reparations being ending the Iraq war because black people don't die. And it's very similar because in order for you to benefit from Medicare, it means you have to get sick first. As a matter of fact, you brought up Tim Wise. Tim Wise said that. He brought that up. So what kind of policy benefits you because you don't die? That's not a real benefit to you. That should be that's a natural right to have freedoms not to be killed in war. So to say that's a benefit to black people, you're being disingenuous. And then to say that you don't know, now you're being intellectually dishonest. Be serious, JR. Come on, speak straight.
All right, here's the thing. When I sent an email to Bernard, I said, how do we move the conversation forward in terms of liberal policies? So the underlining assumption behind that is that some policies aren't working and that we need to do something different. Now, the problem with a lot of people when it comes to arguments, they don't want to concede the point. At the very beginning of this stream, I said that minorities need to show accountability and personal responsibility. I gave you prescriptions of what we could do different. I said, this is what we do with welfare. We do a one-time payment. I said, this is what we do with abortion. So I gave all these solutions. And basically, so y'all are attacking.
What did you say about abortion? Can you go back over abortion court again? What does that mean exactly?
I said that men in court would get one vote. No, all right. On a personal level before court, this is before court, a man gets one vote and a woman gets one vote. So if they both agree, then obviously that's the answer to what we're going to do. That's going to be the legality of what we're going to do. If both agree that there's not going to be any killing of the fetus and the baby boy is going to be born, that's what it's going to be. If they're disagreeing, then each side is going to get a lawyer, and it's going to get challenged on both sides. And here's the point. The overall point is to remove this culture and fix this culture of where we don't take life seriously and we don't take family structure.
Okay, hold on. We got to reel this back because now you're not. It sounds to me that I get your idea that makes perfect sense, but I don't know if it's well thought out. So you literally think that it's a good idea and that people will actually agree that I'll pay for an attorney and she'll pay for an attorney, and then we're going to go down to court together, and then that woman, if she wants to have an abortion, is going to say, Judge, this is the reason I want you to put that baby hand mixer inside my womb and kill my baby. Do you think one woman in America is going to do that?
It's unrealistic. I mean, the thing is, I know what conservatives.
So why are you bringing it up if it's unrealistic? Then why would you do that?
No, I didn't say my policy prescription's unrealistic. I mean, conservatives just think they're just going to get rid of this. Oh, we're going to cut welfare forever.
No,
but you're bringing up a horrible idea, and then when you get challenged on it, you admit that it's a horrible idea. That's what it said, even if that's a Freudian slip. And then you're trying to just move past that like we just didn't see that turd you left on the concrete. No, man, we don't have to go. You're gonna have to face this turd that you just dropped, man. Right, what's up with this idea, man? That doesn't make sense.
Okay, at the very extreme left, we have women have the so-called right to do whatever they want in terms of abortions. My
Hey, JR, who
prescription
pays
moves
for
that
the
needle
lawyer,
back to the
real
right.
quick? Who
They
pays
each
for
pay
the
for it.
lawyer?
They got to come up with the
Well,
money.
but they're economically impoverished. We have people that don't even come to court for child support orders. So you think they're going to actually fund a lawyer?
The
I'm just
point
showing
is,
you how.
And by the time they get their court date and go through the trial, and if they have to show up twice, the baby going to have been born by
Thank
then.
you.
So,
Thank
yeah.
you.
Right. See, this is what Mr.
When-
Fantastic was talking about, is
Yeah,
where
I
liberals
mean,
have
I
these
thought I
ideas that
said
they want
that.
to impart on to other people that are horrible ideas that don't make any sense. And now here's a perfect example of this. You've been in the manosphere because I've seen your name. I've seen you in here before. And we know that the main talking point in the manosphere, what almost all of us agree with, is that the black family structure needs a repair. We need a repair of black men and black women coming together. And we know the history of the black community with liberal policies and welfare policies and mass incarceration and deindustrialization. We've went through this with a fine-tooth comb. And here we go. Here we are in 2021. Instead of the establishment in both the public sector and the private sector creating policies that would actually bring the black community together, bring black marriage together, decrease single motherhood, increase marriage. What do? They say we're going to give 100,000 tech jobs to black women only. We're going to invest Goldman Sachs is going to invest 10 billion. It's only March. They're just getting started. We're going to have more feminist policies that are being implemented in government, in the private sector, that are going to empower black women over black men, which is how we got here in the first place. So it sounds like you're almost reiterating the exact same issues that got us here in the first place, and you're not making a lot of sense right now, homeboy. I love you to death. I respect you, but the ideas that you're talking about, they don't seem well thought out. They don't seem very clear. And it seems like it's almost a form of political escapism. Instead of dealing with reality, you're talking about abortion court and, taking votes and getting attorneys. And it's like, bro, what are you talking about, man? Have you've been in the manosphere? Why don't you tie this in to the black family structure? That's what I want you to do.
And furthermore,
I did.
real quick, JR.
Let me respond to that.
Okay.
No, what I was going to say is, all right, here's the thing. If we're to say that men are getting discriminated against on a broad basis, that's not going to be an argument that gets taken seriously. If you flip the script on that and you say women are being sexist towards men in this different ways because men do not have a say-so in terms of abortion, men do not have a say-so in a lot of ways.
We're not saying men in general. We're saying black men. We're saying black men. You see, now wait. I got to put this in there. See, now this is where you always slip up, because remember you talked about the importance of racism earlier right now, but now you talk about how it's ridiculous if we talk about discrimination against men, you leave out the racism part and you just jump to the broader statement of men. And again, we're in the black manosphere talking about black men. Even with the black discrimination, I still don't consider it as racism. I just understand it as what it is, and it's not even a racism part as much as it's a feminism part. Shout out to Zero, because the black woman has been put in a position to be in power to purposely keep the fucking black man suppressed. That is a part of the thing. And what I wanted to say quick to Truth Is I Know His point about the whole Goldman Sachs thing. If y'all don't remember, bro, this was tried already with not just black women, but women in general, and it failed. They tried to do this STEM women, girls in STEM initiative. I think this would been within the last 5 years. Somebody can look it up or whatnot, what have you. And this failed over white women. Not women, but girls, white girls, Asian girls, even girls that have higher propensity in that in the STEM fields. So this is basically
Black girls code.
That too. Shout out to Sir Tice. So listen, this is just basically Goldman Sachs putting up money they know they're never going to have to spend, because women in general don't do STEM because it's highly math intensive, and just women just don't like it, and they don't do well in those subjects. It's already been tried before, so this is just pretty much a damn it's
a PR move
to put on.
It's a PR move.
That they know they're not to use the money up for.
Real quick, LAR movement in the building says, what does he know about Joe Lewis and the military? Thank you for that super chat, LAR. You got Ace and Spades in here responded to when I said he's a liberal. He said, I got liberal tendencies and some conservative tendencies. I don't identify as liberal. Of course you don't. I'm somewhere in between. with case by case situations. Of course, sure you are. All right, no, shout out to Ace Spades. Appreciate your super chats.
10
They've
seconds
been
to
asking.
respond to what he said.
Yeah, 10 seconds,
please.
and I got a new question to throw out on the table for you.
Okay, the only thing I was going to say to Fantastic in this, it's a non-starter, saying that we're going to see. The thing is, if we're not giving scholarships and we're not helping women get business opportunities, what we're really saying is we're not trying to help them out and we're working against them. So to me, it's just a non-starter. You have to do it. You have to help them get in STEM, whether they can accomplish it or don't want to accomplish it or choose.
It's already failed, bro. It's already been attempted. That's the part that
it's a non-starter. It's a non-starter. It's a non-starter. But you're right to opinion. You have the right to your opinion. It's a non-starter, in my opinion.
Jeez.
No, it's not my opinion. It's literally been done before. You can Google it and look it up. It was an initiative that's been tried before, and it was research that was actually did to it to say why, because they were trying to figure out how and why women were not participating in these STEM fields, and it was an argument against one of the points you made earlier, talking about the wage and the gender wage gap. Again, man, it's like you get up here.
I didn't talk about the wage gap. I didn't talk about that. Well, here's the question. Is there sexism towards women in this society? How about that? That's a simple question.
Fuck it.
No, there's none.
No. And the reason I'm going to say no. The reason I'm going to say no is because we can cherry pick anything and make it true. To your first point, the reason why you put in policies is to correct something or to basically adjust to something that isn't there. There is not this influx of women trying to learn Python, C++, and all these languages where they're being prevented by these sexist males, okay? So you're kind of just throwing money away there, what have you. Women in this society are the freest people of the world. They can do anything, what have you, okay? Not only just physically, they can get funded for their fucking mistakes. You as a man, us as a man, we get a mistake, we're going to be looking behind some bars, all right? It's just that simple. I don't understand how you think that this sexism is a big thing. And again, I'm going to go back to this. You failed to make a point and how this is going to help people in general, specifically black and for yourself, brown people. I would like to hear a point. I've been listening to you all day.
I summarized the point. I said we need to challenge female sexism in a way. And the thing is, it's more social. It's more social interactions.
How can you challenge? Okay, real quick. How can you challenge female sexism when 50% of the men agree with it like yourself? So you basically have a voting block of women who aren't going to give up their power, and they have 50% of men who think just like you. That's already kills that block. So go ahead and tell me how we're going to challenge that.
Well, Sir Tice, he can't answer that. There's no way he can answer that.
It's a complicated. Oh, let me answer the question.
Well, hold on. Let me talk to Sir Tice.
Hold on. Let him answer that. Go ahead, JR.
It's a very complicated argument. In some sectors, in some ways, women are getting discriminated against, and in other
Name one.
Yeah, I mean, they're not.
Name one sector where women are getting discriminated against that they're not represented in highly. Simple question.
Politics.
Bullshit.
How?
And high-level politics. No, we're not talking about mayors and low-level politics. The only ones that count are senators and governors and the real people that can make a big, broad
school boards and state-level senators.
Wait a minute. That's not even a discrimination thing. Hold on. Wait. Those are positions where you get voted in. You either get voted in or you don't get voted in. That's not discrimination. That means you lost a damn election.
Here's the thing. I've conceded some points, and I think a lot of conservatives, they don't want to concede any points, and really no one wants to concede any points.
Why are you putting that label on us? See, this is the BS you're doing. Why are you putting that? Okay, why are you putting that label on us? Number two, I'm about to give you the makeup of Congress people, men and women. Just give me a second since you Googled who Daniel P. Moynihan was.
No,
I'm
going to
Google it to make it. Yeah, you did. You did.
All right. Stop. Sir Tice, while you go look that up, because I do want you to look that up. I got a number in my head of the percentage of women that are represented in terms of senators, governors, Congress, and all of that stuff. So I have the number in my head, but my number might be wrong. So go look it up for sure. Indigenous
25% of the Senate is women.
That's exactly what I was going to say, but I didn't want to announce
23% is the Senate. I'm going to look up the governors now.
All right,
okay?
Indigenous TV.
And by the way, half and it's split across the parties. But what he's saying is that what he's deliberately saying is that sexism exists in politics that prevents a little girl that wants to be a senator, but it's only because she's a girl that she can't. That's what he's trying to make you think. As you mentioned, it is an elected position, and what I'm simply saying is that in hell, you got men getting women to act as the owner of a business because they know more grants will be available for them because it's a women-owned business, even though it's a man controlling the purse or the puppet strings behind it. So name another industry, because politics, name another industry that women are openly discriminated against, since that was what you exactly said.
Fortune 500 CEOs.
How does
the percent of women that are Fortune 500 CEOs?
You do realize that CEOs are voted by a board that is inclusive of men and women, right? But that's not discrimination. That's what a vote is. So you think that it's just merely because, oh, we don't want a woman, so we're not going to vote it. Is that it? And then at the same time, make the case of a woman who wasn't voted as a CEO and it was solely because of discrimination. See, if you're going to make a charge, you got to have an example to back it.
I mean, the thing is, I've given you so many points. I could be here all day. All right, the percent of women that are small business owners. There's the next one, and then you can respond to that.
How is that discrimination? Nobody is stopping women from starting small businesses. What are you talking about?
They need funding for it, and all right. Let's think about this.
And funding is discriminatory.
That's hold on. I've gotten funding to start a small business. You want to know what I had to do? I had to spend like 5 years getting my credit right. Once I got my credit right, I walked in there with a credit score and I was able to get a loan. It's that simple. They're not giving women loans. They have good business loans if they got good credit scores. What are you talking about?
And black women have more grants and they get more businesses easier than black men do. So that's not even a good argument in itself. Black women are actually more entrepreneurs than black men are. So that's not a good argument.
No, it's an amazing argument.
It's a good argument.
Okay, now your liberal is really showing. You can't look at any discrepancy and just say racism, sexism, patriarchy. Oh, you just can't do that. It's choices and performance and all kind of other factors that equate to different people having different outcomes. You can't say that across the board just because there's less of something. We just can't call it discrimination because there's like a very low percentage of Asians or Mexicans.
You can, Bernard. There's
a very low percentage of Asians or Mexicans in the NBA. We can't call that racism against Asians and Mexicans. Like, so you just can't say there's not a lot of women holding CEO positions in Fortune 500 companies. When we can look at all the data that shows that women are more likely to work 40 hours and go home, and there's a much higher percentage of men who are down to put in 60, 70, 80 hours, 100 hours if needed. They earn those higher positions. Now, could there be some sexism? Yes, but you just can't look at the total number at the end of the race and not take into account how hard people are working and training to run fader. You can't do that.
Sexism. Come
on, like that ain't gonna work. Liberals believe he was tiptoeing and dancing around the liberalism early on. Now he didn't went full gangster on us at this juncture.
He attributes all so-called inequity. Because I can flip this
Indigenous. Hold on, real quick. Indigenous TV says, brother, you can't expect him to relate to things to black male related issues because he's not a black man, so it will go over his head. Shout out to Nick Penn right there. He says you help women by helping men. I 100% agree with that statement. If you want to help women, you help men, because us niggas are simps and we love pussy. We're gonna take care of a woman when we get our shit together. But anyway, that's a whole nother debate. But that what I said is true for a lot of men still. So yeah, you help women by helping men. It is what it is. But hold on real quick, because we got LAR in here. So I want to go to LAR. We got Coach Ali in Coach Ali's corner in the building. He said an example of true discrimination is the Yahoo CEO Marissa Mayer purposefully trying to purge the company of its male employees. Woo. Okay. I didn't know. I didn't know too much. I think I heard about that, but I never researched or really looked at that. Before we, I want to ask him about the immigration thing. That's one thing that may personally hit home with him, and where it would be some true difference. So, damn, he ran when I said immigration. But go ahead.
Damn.
Go ahead, LAR. Go ahead, LAR.
No.
That was actually what I was about to start asking, because there's only two things I wanted to know. One, how is this liberalism going to affect his community, since he's pushing for it so much? And two, what woman's issue or sexism issue has trumped anything that black men have went through as far as discrimination in America? He can add all the women together if he wants.
All right, he down in the back. I'm gonna wait for him to get his camera turned off before I bring him up. Got that.
Professions like plumbing, electrician, sewer workers, those are all sexist too, because there's not a lot of women participating in those based on his logic.
Hey man, stop making them fajitas, man. Get your mic together.
Yeah. So all right. So we got.
Let me respond to that, Bernard. I just got one simple thing.
Oh, you heard LER Movement's question?
I heard part of it. The thing is, I mean, it's kind of crapping out. I don't know why the StreamYard doesn't work well on my phone. It doesn't matter where I am. Buildings, Wi-Fi, doesn't matter. But the thing I was going to say, I mean, the thing is, if men's argument is that they're the only ones getting discriminated against and everything's stacked against the favor, it's a non-starter.
Nobody said really only ones. Nobody said no. Nobody said men are the only ones getting discriminated against. Nobody said. Hold on.
You don't like
Hold on. Wait. We can't straw man it. Nobody said men are the only ones getting discriminated against. Nobody said that. The LAR, ask your question again. I don't think he heard your question. I think he's responding to something else. So go ahead and ask your question again, especially about the immigration aspect, because that's exactly where I wanted to take this thing. Go ahead.
The two things I wanted to know is, how will this liberalism affect your community? That's the first thing. The second thing is, if you want to put all the women together through American history, how has their discrimination issues trumped the black man's or male discrimination issues in America? Since it's about all these isms.
Okay, well, let me answer the first one in terms of immigration. I think that in terms of immigration policy, my parents immigrated over here and they were given amnesty by the 1986 Immigration Act. And the thing about it is, what people don't really get, they can sit there and build 20 walls and build, they could have snipers. People are going to get over here regardless of what happens. If marriage rates are down and people aren't having kids, well, someone has to pay for the Social Security. And a lot of people, well, it's going to be the immigrants. In terms of how that's going to affect my community, well, right now they say a lot
how are immigrants? How are immigrants going to pay for Social Security?
Yeah, bro. What the fuck?
Because they're going to work. They're going to work, and
I think he's talking about legal immigrants.
Dude, none of that money clears it to go into the Social Security fund, my guy. What are you talking about?
Okay, let's be clear. We were talking about
conflated. No,
we were talking about illegal immigrants and them potentially. Come on, man. Wait, mute
he
up.
Didn't say illegal. I didn't hear that. He didn't say illegal.
No, you did say no. He didn't say illegal. You said regardless of the amount of walls or what have you, people are going to come over here, which means they're not going to come over here through some fucking amnesty program. They're going to come here illegally. Then at the same time, you said, okay, they're going to put money into the Social Security system,
which is impossible if they're illegal.
Exactly.
Which means he's saying they're not going to stop coming over here. So just let the borders be open-ish. Let them come over here, and then eventually make them legal. Which basically saying he's arguing for amnesty for everybody that's here illegally and open border anarchy going forward. That's essentially what he's arguing.
No, that's not what I said.
No, bullshit.
You're not saying it, but that's what you're alluding to. Well, let me say this, bro.
Can I answer the question?
Well, hold on. Do you know how the social? Hold on. We gotta get some fundamental understanding of ground here. So, do you know how money is paid into the Social Security fund, brother?
They have to be legal workers, but you know what people do? They use fake papers, then. So they get the papers from other people and fake Social Security numbers. So yeah. They'll pay into the system.
Okay, so wait. So this is what I can promise you with a fake Social Security number, dude. This is what I can tell you right here. you get a fake social security number, and you the IRS start fucking taxing that money or doing anything with that fucking money, that's going to hit immediately, and that's still going to be money that's not going to the actual social security fund because it's a fake social security number. So try again.
And these are your talking points.
Can I just say something about this real quick?
Go ahead, LAR.
JR, the problem with this talking point that you're having is you're just comfortable with being a criminal. And you should still get benefits for being a criminal, while at the same time fighting for people who were quote unquote discriminated against, who've been benefiting off of other people. Because the liberalism spills over into that criminality where like we just come over here and do whatever and steal a social security card and this, that. You cannot make a political argument for anything political based on criminality, even though technically the country was formed on criminality. But at this point, that's not going to work.
Going forward, I think Dark Knight Mentality wants him to answer this question. How does his liberal... Holy shit. He's shuffling cards or something over there. Let me mute you. Okay. All right. He says, how does his liberal policies help his community? This dude's answer questions like, okay, women does. It's very frustrating. Okay, so let's answer that question. How do your liberal policies help your community? And in the chat, I mean, well, I don't need to bring nobody else up. Well, somebody named CJ. Hold on, real quick. CJ NBD. Anybody know who this is?
No idea.
Damn, fantastic doing. Okay, all right. Just hang out for a second, CJ NBD. I might bring you up. Might give you a tryout today. Just hold on for a second. All right, go ahead, JR.
I mean, here's the thing: the underlying assumption of damn near everything that they said is that I support a bunch of legal immigration. I never said that. I just told you how my family came over here, and I told you what's happened afterwards. What I support is I think people have to take the moral ground. I think that historically, there's been immigration policy has always favored different people on racism. There was the Chinese Exclusion Act of the late 1800s that excluded the Chinese. Okay, that was one of them. And then the most important one, near 1930s, Western Europeans changed the immigration policy to keep Southern and Eastern Europeans out of this country, which was white on white racism. So what I would do is I would create a system where each country in the world, based on their percent population of the world, that's how many visas they get. Right, so you do the moral high ground on that, and then it's a fair-based system. That's what you get, and then you give the percent of people, whatever it is, 8 million, 10 people that are here legally. You give them amnesty, and that's it. It's a done deal.
So hold on, wait. So no, you're not gonna run past that one, brother. So you are for. So you said all of that to say that you are for illegal immigration. Then that's what you're for.
Now, what you're saying is, what you're assuming is that I support a democratic policy that's extreme.
Wait. I let you get all your shit off. So let me repeat back what you said verbatim. You said give the 8 to 9 million people that are here illegally amnesty. Did you not say that verbatim?
I did. What's your solution to kick them out?
All right, then. So again, okay. So you are for illegal immigration.
What's your solution?
You are for
JR, stop talking while he's talking. Go ahead, fantastic.
Hold on. I got one simple question, period. And I just need a quick answer from you, JR, okay? Are you there?
I'm listening. Go ahead.
Are you for reparations?
No, I'm not. And the reason I'm not is because a lot of people don't understand racism too well. There's a lot of people I don't care. Yeah, no, I do. I understand it better than you.
Wait, JR, hold on. Let me say this to you. You're for amnesty, though.
For LAR, like you said, not just amnesty, LAR. He said amnesty for 8 to 9 million illegal individuals, LAR.
Hold that thought, fan. And to LAR's point, this guy said, you guys back up. Please rewind. He said, look at the percentages of the countries and their respective population and allow those in. Wait a minute. We have people here already that are actual legally And he's talking about extending this. I mean, are you effing serious?
It's a
Again,
non-starter. You can't kick 10 million people out of the country.
A liberal's first thing is themselves, bro. This is what it all breaks down to. As much as you say you're not about talking points, a liberal's best ideology is whatever putting themselves first over everybody else. And it's nothing wrong with that. Again, this is natural. Every person, every demographic, every race looks out for themselves first. That's what a ruling class mentality does. And this is what people are uncomfortable with about racism. What's really not is not racism. It's just nepotism and tribalism and people looking out for people that look like themselves. That's just what you naturally do because that's a biological cue for someone like you to survive in the survival of your race or survival of your tribe or your group. So again, man, but liberals, what do? They circumvent this shit and they tell you, oh, the white man is this, the white man is that, the white man is this, the white man is that. But here we go, and we got my man JR here, who's of Hispanic or Latino, whatever you want to call it, descent, and he's saying, knowing that the biggest and the largest number of people that are here illegal are going to be people like him. He says, hey, fuck it, man. Let's just give a whole clean slate to 8 to 9 million people and let them in here legally and give them all the rights of American citizens, while at the same time, black men are still struggling to get what he claimed we don't have. He told us this. Now, this man told us. He told us
respond to that.
Racism and discrimination and all these other things. Yet and still, he wants to give 8 to 9 million illegal immigrants, illegal people that are here rights before the black man gets his rights from the racist white man that he claims is oppressing the black man. See, people, that's liberalism.
Let me respond to that. Let me respond to that.
Why you say it's a non-starter? Go ahead and do your straw man act. Go ahead. You're very good.
Let me say it's gonna take 15 seconds. Here's the thing. Y'all assume that I support giving amnesty because they're more disproportionately Hispanic. I mean, come on, man. That's just ridiculous. That idea has never crossed my mind. It's just not practical to kick 10 million people out. The number varies. It just really isn't practical. And the overall point
other countries have done it.
But you know what though, JR? Had you not started off by saying you're not going to stop people from coming in, they're going to be coming in, and somebody has to fund Social Security. So that's it's hard to walk that one backwards. That was you essentially saying that, hey, you're good. Let them in, and let them live. I don't think you can walk backwards from that one.
I gave you the policy prescription. I gave you the policy prescription. It's simple. Every country in the world, depending on their population in the world, they get that number of legal visas.
No. It wasn't about the country. It wasn't about the. Hold on. It wasn't about the other countries in the world. It was just to go ahead and just go full gangster with it. It's about Mexicans sneaking over here illegally. Like that's what we're talking about. We're not talking about how the U.S. and in Europe or some country over there. What percentage of people do they let come over here? Like, no, we're not talking about that.
It's a moral high ground, and then you clamp down. You clamp down forever. So no country in the world is getting benefits.
Who determines the morality? See, you talk in a lot of these idealistic circles. Even one of your ideas you presented earlier, you're like, well, I don't really think that could work, but it's just my ideal or whatever. So, but who determines this moral high ground? And this is my issue with, since you love labels, with liberals, is that you all think that you have the moral high ground, but you don't. But who determines that?
Hold on. I'm gonna get out of here in a second. Just when it comes down to morality, did you just not say you're not for reparations, but you're for amnesty? Is that morality?
Great catch.
I'm going to tell you why. Here's the answer to the question. It takes 10 seconds. It just gives ammunition to racists to say, look, they can't do anything on their own. It's that simple. That's all there's to it.
JR, let me help you. Let me help you with this. What you're saying is, I need to get what's designated for you because I want it for free. That's your moral argument. Because if you're going to come over here with amnesty, you get the benefits of amnesty, right? Who do those benefits get taken from? You're just basically saying, I'm on team white supremacy, but I'm going to act like I'm your friend because I need your money. But this is morality. You're not in the space of guys who are dumb. So if you want amnesty, get it on your own. You pay for it. You do all of the grunt work. Do not hit yourself to racism or feminism or liberal ideologies because, truth be told, you're talking about a population of people designated as criminals.
A lot of people
I'm not
say
calling
that.
those people criminals.
I mean, a lot of people say that.
Are they lying?
No, I think they are lying, because people that over here and they're desperate to get here, they're not over here worrying about robbing people and doing different stuff like that.
You're conflating.
The fact that they're here, they got to break the law to
Are
get
they
here.
here legally? Yes or no? Are they here on the legal definitions of the law? Yes or no?
There's nothing to respond to this, man. All the people that came to this country, a lot of people came here illegally.
Bro, we're not talking about
that's not the question.
We're talking about currently now. We're talking about the law. Again, brother, you're an excellent deflector. Listen, we're talking about how things are, not how they used to be, not how they ought to be, not how they could be. I'm going to ask you again: is a person that is not a born citizen here or is not naturalized here legally and in this country comes into this country without fucking legal passport, without visa, are they here legally? Yes or no?
No, they're not legally, but you can't do anything about it. You can't round up 10 million people to take them out.
Hold up, and again, so when you're involved in illegal activity, what do you consider?
You're breaking the law.
And then what is that called?
A criminal.
What is that
Ice
called?
on the panel, please.
A criminal. It's called a criminal. Again,
hold on, wait, hold on. You keep saying that you just can't deport 10 million people. Do you support that if somebody is over here illegally and they get caught breaking the law, committing a crime of some sort? Do you support deporting them immediately?
I do. That's who the Obama administration targeted, the people that were doing.
No. I just wanted to see if you at least.
Yes, I do.
Okay. Yeah, I was gonna see if you was gonna. I don't see
I
how
wasn't
full
gonna
gangster
deflect.
you was gonna go with that one. All right, Charles Merchant in the building with the super chat. He said, "Just imagine if Goldman Sachs will get the return for giving billions to the jackals. Her only collateral is her children's." Thank you for the super chat. Appreciate that. Maurice Novembre, like my first Patreon, if I'm not mistaken. He's been here since day one. A1 since day one. Shout out to Maurice Novembre. It says, gentlemen, your breakdown of the guest talking points were not only surgical, but you dismantled him at a subatomic level. Well done.
I got one question.
Thank you for the super chat. You gotta hold your thought. I'm reading super chats. We also got mute up. I think that's you, JR, with a bunch of background noise. Somebody got, whoever that is. Just everybody mute up. How about that? For right now, everybody mute up. The cleanupper says Mexican. Thank you for the super chat. Appreciate that. We also got in the building Demetrius Parham. What's going on? Salute to you. I don't think I've seen you around here in a minute, but thanks for the super chat. Appreciate that. I think that's everybody. All right. We about to swing it to who we got on here. CJ NBD. Go ahead. You got the floor. You got the mic.
All right. Shout out to everybody. First of all, I just want to say that there's a fundamental problem with modern day liberalism as a whole. The issue is that modern day liberals want to legislate what is supposed to be handled by family. So when you have kids and you're not married and you're working a dead-end job because you don't have skills, we need to raise the minimum wage. When instead, what should be happening is people should be getting together, developing skills, getting married, and then having children, and then they wouldn't be working minimum wage jobs. Those jobs would go to teenagers. You know, as far as immigration goes, you know, it's the problem's out of hand, but it reminds me of this documentary on Netflix called Wild Wild Country, where it was this religious cult, and they wanted to take over this area. And so what they were doing, they tried to flood the area with people so they could win the election. So they started busting in people from all over the country. They basically busted in homeless people from all over the country so that they would have more voting power so they could take over the area. And that's what I see a lot of people are doing with immigration. Let's just bring a bunch of people in, and then we can win the election year after year after year. And that's all I wanted to say.
All right, good stuff. We just gonna pass it right to Bro Truth. Go ahead, you got the floor, you got the mic.
Hey, what's good, fellas? Good. Thanks for having me up. So most liberals, they think that they can legislate morality. They think that they can take their, virtue and to spread it across the nation, through the law. And they never think beyond their emotions. They never put actual brass tacks numbers to things. They never think about supply and demand. Okay, if you have an unlimited flood of illegal immigrants come across this border, you have an unlimited flood of immigrants that overstay their visas. You have an unlimited flood of H-1B visas. What does that mean? Suppression of wages, okay? The replacement of American workers, not just, the lower class. We're talking about across the board, even white collar jobs, okay? There was recently last year, I believe, in Texas, there was a technology company that was busted for hiring illegal immigrants. These are, illegal immigrants just recently came across the border. This is a technology company. So it's not just, someone picking fruit. These are American jobs that could be, supporting American families that are being taken because you have an incentive for corporations to lower their cost basis when it comes to hiring. That's what this is about, okay? It's about the globalization of the workforce. There is a huge push from business in order to infiltrate the American workforce with these low wage workers. That's what's happening. It has nothing to do with, children in cages, blah, 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 and all that other bullshit. Because if you actually cared about children in cages, okay, if you actually cared about these children coming over here, you actually think what's happening to them when they get over. What's happening to the women when they're coming across this desert? Majority of the women, 9 out of 10 women that's coming across this desert are being raped, okay? Completely, devastated coming across this border. What happened to the children that, the coyotes basically are trafficking them directly into child sex slavery? Because that happens all the fucking time, okay? The whole policy with, if you come across with a child, then you basically are, automatically allowed in because, you can't separate families, blase, blase. That leads directly to additional child sex slavery. If you have to look at these brass tacks facts. You have to get rid of this emotional bullshit. You cannot live in a world of fairy tales and gumdrops because the shit does not work out practically.
Can I respond to that, Bernard? I mean, I already gave y'all the solution to it. We're gonna pass a law based on the moral high ground, giving a certain number of visas legally to every country based on the percentage of the world.
No.
And then we're gonna clamp down on illegal immigration, and that's it.
How does that stop people from coming over illegally just because you're giving a certain number of visas for people to come over legally? That's like saying that gun laws are going to stop criminals from carrying guns. Like, no, they still going to,
What about the people here that are legal that are still struggling, which the so-called left claims that they advocate for? But you're already putting a precedent.
I know what the arguments are. I mean, they're commonly said, talking about that illegals take jobs from the working class because that's
it's not they're commonly said. There's been plenty of studies that have shown this. We can look at the agriculture industry in California alone, dude. So you can point to one study, I can point to another one. Again, your points have been systematically dissected each time you say, and then you go into a circle, but continue revolving, please.
I mean, I already gave y'all a bunch of solutions across the board. I'm not.
No, you didn't.
But these solutions not based in reality, sir.
Yeah, you can take away
you're coming up with so-called solutions, but however, you do not think of the back end. What would be the back end result? Okay,
the welfare.
And you as a man, you should have that mindset where you actually have to think about this logically and actually think about the numbers behind your decisions.
I do, because the thing is, you talk about changing the culture, which is what a lot of conservatives say. Oh, what are you supposed to say? You're just supposed to get on the stage and say, "Well,
weak
we need more
the culture of conservatism is meritocracy." Okay, the culture of conservatism is meritocracy. The culture of the Democrats is about victimhood. Okay, it's all about she's a black trans, queer, sideways lizard. So obviously she should
She's
be
a woman.
placed.
She's a woman, bro. Truth.
So
That's why
yeah, exactly. So
right.
obviously she should be placed at the highest fucking position of whatever company, or she should be assigned a government position because, well, I mean, look at her skin color. Look what's between her legs. She's qualified.
Right.
There's no fucking thought of, okay, what if this person's background is? What qualifies them to actually obtain this certain position? No, not at all. If you just look at some of the assignments in the Biden administration, majority of motherfuckers can't even motherfucking think their way through a wet paper bag in a fucking rainstorm. It's sickening.
Well, the thing is, I mean, it's not going to work when you say, okay, y'all quit being single mothers, y'all quit taking welfare. I mean, come on, man. I mean, what do you want me to say? Quit having abortions? Is that going to work? Tell me what we should do. And I'm not deflecting because
when you
no
don't
answer to that.
when you don't fund it. No. I said this earlier, and you avoided it. It's very simple. Abortion and your beloved feminism exists because it's funded. Okay, when you remove the funding and you leave people to either have to incur that charge themselves or live their own devices, it affects their future choices. Very simple.
I'm in Texas, one of the most conservative states in the union. So the way they did it over here, you got to go 4 times to the clinic. So the first time you get a sonogram that you're actually pregnant. The second time you sit there and you take the first pill, the abortion pill. The third time you get the second abortion pill, and then the fourth time you get to make sure everything's okay. So you can make it more difficult, but I mean, over here, really, I understand that, and that's the whole thing about the culture. You got to change the culture. You can't make that acceptable. And
we agree there, at least.
I've conceded a bunch of points when I've got up here. Like, I don't really understand where y'all coming from. I mean, if we had a guy up here that's a Republican, and we had one 3 days ago, the guy didn't concede any points. I just heard a guy preaching. That's what I heard. Maybe my ears had earwax, but I just heard a guy preaching.
Okay. Whoa. This is about you. This is not about 3 days ago. This is about you and what you have to present. And you keep deflecting to these other topics, okay? This is your floor, your time to produce your great ideas and try to sell them, because
he doesn't have any ideas.
I gave you the ideas. You don't like them. I don't know what to tell you.
No, it's not we don't like them. It's that they're easy to be picked apart. You see,
the welfare one is it. Nah, the welfare one
hold on. Wait. How's the welfare one not?
No, it isn't. You do a one-time payment, you get away with it, and then female.
But hold on. So what's the difference? Wait. So what's the difference between the one-time payment and reparations? So how can you be against reparations but be for a one-time welfare payment?
Here's the thing. You assume that I'm against reparations. Let me say this real carefully. You assume I'm against.
No, I'm not assuming.
You said
no. Wait a minute. Hey, I'm answering
you asked the question directly.
Yeah.
You hold on. I don't think you have a good memory, and I'm not even trying to clown you. Listen, I just like when you said you weren't for things, bro. I'm saying what you said verbatim. You were asked the direct question: were you for reparations? You said no.
Let me answer the question.
So I'm not assuming anything. I'm going by what you said out of your mouth.
I do not support it. That does not mean on a personal moral basis that it's something that I think shouldn't be there. So on a personal basis, I support it. But in terms of the practicality, no, I do not. Because it gives ammunition for racists to say, look.
Okay, so again, why would I give a fuck? Well, listen, and this is why I say with the liberal, your liberal is showing real heavy. So again, you wouldn't be the person benefiting from this, but you're going to be the person stopping it because of your liberal ideology. And your excuse was it would be ammunition for the same racists that are oppressing black people to use against black people, even though they gave them the money to pay them for the racism they use against black people. Brother, do you understand like all of these like huge fallacies you have in your logic?
Damn, did he drop down?
Yeah, he dropped down again. But yeah,
you scared him off, Mr. Fantastic.
He got that
argument was too strong, man.
Nah, he got that El Immigrante wireless, man. He been in and out like motherfuckers cross the border all morning. So you know what I'm saying? He'll be back.
Got that El Chapo wireless, bro.
Yeah, man. He done, you know what I'm saying? He been underlay all morning, man. So you know what I'm saying? He'll be back.
It's Peter Gonzalez wireless.
Hey, AC Star, you used to go by a different name, right? It was
Black Ground.
Radio.
Yeah.
Okay, I know you. Okay, yeah. I thought thought I was familiar with you.
Yeah,
But
last time I was on here, y'all summarily kicked me off. Fantastic. What's up, little bro?
Wait, I think
Yo,
I
you
did.
got it, fam. What's going on with you?
How you doing, man? Anything good?
I can't complain, bro. Another
That's
day.
what's up. That's what's up. Bernard, how you doing, sir? How's everything, man?
Good, doing great.
Congratulations on all your success, man. Keep doing what you're doing.
Thanks, man. I appreciate it. I'm shutting it down at roughly the 3-hour mark. So, man, you got to hit us hard real quick.
Well, I mean, I don't necessarily want to hit you hard. I think I was just listening to the brother, and I think he kind of was just off base a little bit. And I'm glad LAR kind of put him in perspective. But I guess my only pushback, I guess, is to say that when we talk about the conservative, only thing I ask is if we could just have a list of conservative legislation that really has propelled Black people into a space where we can look back and say the Republican Party is an option, right? And I do understand, some of the angst that the Democratic Party get, but I think, like, for me, there's local legislation, there's state legislation that benefits me immensely, right? As a Democrat, as a Black man, right? That may not be on the federal level, but there are some legislations that are local, that are statewide, that do help Black men. But I just want to ask you guys, because you guys do articulate your positions very well when it comes to why you tie yourself to the conservative party. It's just sometimes it's personal, sometimes it's meritocracy, like the gentleman said. But I just want to know if you guys can list off some legislation that has been passed by the GOP in the last 30, 40 years that somehow benefited Black people. Because
I'm not even Republican, man. Fuck the GOP. They're spineless pieces of shit. Okay.
Well,
I am anti the bullshit. Okay, that's what I am. Okay, I'm anti-communism. I'm anti-Bolshevism, and that's exactly what the left is trying to introduce into this country.
Listen, let me say this real quick. We had this whole thing as to where now any Black man, and it's Trumpism is a major part of it. Listen, for you to think and act like Donald Trump didn't have a positive effect on the country as a whole, but especially Black people as a whole, man, is just it is what it is. And this people want to now throw the label of conservative and Republican and whatnot on any Black person that liked or even had the optics of liking Donald Trump. When again, Donald Trump had the lowest level of in history of Black male unemployment. Most Black men got into the middle class and earned the most money under the Donald Trump regime and all these other things. So again, you guys are trying to tie this to this. I'm not a conservative. I'm not a Republican. I understand politics. I am for the person or persons or party or whoever in the hell is going to benefit me and Black people the most. Point blank, period. I don't give a damn about party loyalty is what had me voting for Barack Obama 2 times in a row, and me as a Black man not getting shit out of it. Okay, so I think we got to get away from this Trumpism thing as to where, like, oh, you're conservative or you're Republican. What's conservatives done, bro? Conservatives have done just as much as Democrats. That's not a goddamn thing for Black people, bro. And that's and once we have that understanding, I think we can actually start moving forward as Black men and trying to establish our own thing, and it's from a political aspect or a lobbying aspect or whatever it takes for us to get some type of foothold in politics and start getting actual policy in our favor pushed.
To answer the question specifically, the Fair Housing Act, written by Edward Brooke. I get tired, no disrespect to you, Black Ground, I get tired of, if we talk about something that's personal responsibility in these things, that we all think that, oh, it's just some weak coon that's just talking Republican talking points. That's not it. We don't want government in our life. You used to could get a haircut without a license or what have you. Now you have to have a license. There's plenty of things where government comes into play, and the Republican Party, and I'm not necessarily advocating for it, but it's about less government. Whereas with the guest today, this guy wants to be able to determine the morality, as he said. Yeah, that's why I was trying.
That was strange.
Right. He wanted to be able to determine this. Well, your beliefs don't go into mine. And like I said, one of the things we all know that breaks up the Black community has been culture and this accepted dysfunction. And that was the breakdown of the family. That was our building block, our foundation, that kept us through. And with government intervention, that's what came in. So that's just what I'm saying. But it's not, to me, a Republican per se talking point. And respect to your point, by the way, about how local policies benefit you. That's a very good point. Just wanted to acknowledge that.
Yeah, see, because I don't. A lot of times when we have this conversation, I think a lot of times people extrapolate the idea to a federal, like understanding federal laws or things of that nature, and federal legislation a lot of times. But for me, it's more about the local, because those things impact me instantly. Those things impact me intimately, because they're made for my community. They're made for my state in comparison to federal laws that's just, broad based and for the whole nation. But to push back, not to push back, but to just kind of, I guess push back to what Fantastic was saying. I mean, I don't know where y'all got that. I'm not going to deny the metrics that maybe Black man has seen some economic surpluses during the Trump administration, but I do understand that any administration, you really can't judge their numbers till 2 and 3 years after they've been in office, based on legislation, based on their economic policy, based on the people that they had in particular positions that would promote things and promote different things. So I still think a lot of the economic solvency that we've seen in 2018-19 was still living off of some of what Obama did. And I know people want to refute that, but any economist will tell you that you start judging an administration 2 or 3 years after it's been in office. So the returns on Trump's administration still hasn't come in yet to say whether or not Black men economically benefited from his administration. So I don't really know if that metric is true, but I think the whole unemployment, things of that nature, those things were carryovers from the previous administration.
What you're referring to?
Real quick.
I can't hear him.
No, I was trying to figure out who I was going to pass it to. Either Sir Tyson. Fantastic. He kind of responded to Fantastic.
It was more for Fantastic.
Yeah, so I'll let Fantastic go then, Sir Tyson. We're gonna wrap this thing up real soon.
Yeah, like you said, I'm gonna make it quick on Bernard. Like you said though, you said you made the cutoff at 2018, which would have been a 2-year mark in 2019. And again, we all know what happened in 2019. You look at the numbers, you look at the trend. If that's the case, what happens is, again, if the president or whoever it is in control could definitely change and do everything the opposite of whatever, and we've seen it happen historically to either regress or completely and totally erase the progress of the previous administration. So the fact of the matter that those numbers continue to go up, or as far as the earning and the employment rates to go down, again, that itself is not something where you're just riding upon the previous administration. That's something you have to keep in order. And again, the promotion of business and entrepreneurship by the Trump administration is what put Black men into those things. Barack Obama was not doing those things for just people in general, but especially the people in the Black community. So
I think Barack Obama put plenty entrepreneurial federal programs in place. He put plenty of like you had veterans. We got this whole thing with your disabled veteran. You know how we get down. Fantastic. So now he got this thing where it's like service connected veterans that own businesses, right? That own contracted businesses or service supply businesses. It's a 3% set aside that all the contracts that the government get, it's like 3% of their overall budget goes strictly for them, right? So it's definitely, you just have to be in. You just have to go ask the questions to find out where it was there. But I do understand what you're saying. Like, I didn't use 18 and 19 as a cutoff to like discount what he did. I was just saying it usually takes that long to see it. But I get your point. So Bernard, I ain't gonna hold you, man. Maybe I'll come back another day, man.
I just want to say briefly.
I was just about to say, Black Ground, man. If you up for a debate, I find you a debate partner, man. You gonna come back next week? We do something like a debate,
man. For sure,
all
man.
Right,
listen, man. Just because I don't agree with you guys politically, man, I don't ignore intelligence, and I don't ignore brothers that do have some validity in what they say. I don't do that.
All right, right on. So yeah, I'm gonna find you a sparring partner, and then I'll set something up. You got an email?
Yeah, I have an email. I'll hit you with the email because I do have a channel. I just started my channel maybe last month, so I do have a channel. So AC Star Morning Show. So you can just hit me on that, and then we can exchange emails, and I'll have no problem with you brothers.
Yeah, I'll get somebody for you to go at it with.
No doubt.
But go ahead, Sir Tice, wrap it up. Hold on, real quick. Emancipated Negress, I hate that name, but Emancipated Negress says, why doesn't he support reparations? If you're referring to JR, he ain't Black, he's Latino. That's why he don't support it.
Yeah,
he supports legal immigration. Shout out to Charles Merchant. He made a good point. Says policies are how liberals manipulate governments. Conservatives are against more and more policies. That's sort of why, when the question is asked, what policies have Republicans passed to advance Black people? I mean, Sir Tice found some, but that's not really thing. That's I ain't about to get into that.
And then he used the great Senator Edward Brooke, which is a black man. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. But go ahead, Sir Tice.
Right.
Go ahead, Sir
Yeah.
Tice.
What Black Ground was AC, my bad, was referring to is called institutional lag. But there are direct policies that were signed by the Trump administration that did benefit, that were not carryovers. But we'll save that for another topic. At the end of the day, the topic today was explain how liberal policies can save the community. And we heard a bunch of straw manning. We heard a bunch of deflecting by someone who's not a black individual. I have no issue with non-black people proposing solutions and such, but I do not like being browbeaten with bullshit by people who are uninformed about the culture, trying to dictate to us what we should be through. So this was an excellent presentation and why we should not listen to uninformed people. Bernie, thank you all.
Absolutely. All right, y'all. We about to get up out of here. Snuggles with the super chat at the brother. He says, "Can the distinction you're talking about be someone else's morality?" Interesting. Thank you for the super chat. Appreciate that. And we about to get out of here and double check. I got everything. Got everybody super chat taken care of. All right, we cool. We out of here. Peace. We gone.